Chapter 278. The attack was too sudden, and the enemy's weapons were too powerful. They wore flight suits and floated in the air, appearing in the sky above the Grand Canyon. They were silent, and it was impossible to guard against them. What was more frightening was their weapons, which looked like small submachine guns. A silver light bullet was shot towards Fong Yin. When the light bullet hit the hard rock, it actually smashed a huge hole in the rock. If someone were to stand there, they would probably shatter into pieces just like those stones. Not even their dregs could be found. These people came and went like ghosts. They were equipped with advanced equipment, and they used a killer move as soon as they appeared. This made Fong Yin extremely angry, because from the weapons they used and the way they did things, he could determine the enemy's identity, the military armory. Only the military armory could do something like this. Were these bastards going to fight to the death with him? I eliminated evil for the people, won glory for the country, and looked so cute. Why do you have to do this to me? Before Fong Yin could roar in anger, the second shell flew towards him. Fong Yin quickly rolled and ran forward with all his might. Because the area of effect of the bomb was too large, and after the explosion, there would be green corrosive substances splashing everywhere. If he ran a little slower, it might blow off a leg and tear off a piece of skin. Fong Yin had just experienced a fierce battle. He was exhausted and seriously injured. He really couldn't take such a heavy injury. Most importantly, these people who used Sha Dan were not stupid at all. On the contrary, they were quite smart. More than a dozen people in black lined up in the sky, each holding a black submachine gun and shooting towards the top of One Sword Peak. They cooperated well, and the shooting frequency was also carefully planned. If the top of One Sword Peak was described as a large square array, then two black-clothed men would shoot the silver bullets at the first square, and then the other two black-clothed men would shoot the silver bullets at the second square. The third and fourth groups would do the same. Each square was the maximum explosion range of the bomb. When the first group finished shooting, the second group would take over, the third group would be responsible for reloading, the fourth group would shoot without mistakes, and the fifth group would shoot accurately. Their artillery fire blocked the entire One Sword Peak. Not even a mouse could escape. This was an extermination operation to make Fong Yin and everyone on One Sword Peak stay. Boom, boom, boom. The sounds of explosions rang out incessantly. After a round of artillery fire, the summit of the One Sword Peak was blasted into countless craters. It was like the surface of the moon photographed by a satellite. When the first shell was about to hit the ground, Fong Yin sent Chiba Hajime flying. Chiba Hajime was quickly carried away by Phoenix. This bandit was quite attentive to his hostage. It had always been the gangsters who let the hostages die for them. This was the first time he had seen a gangster risk his life to save a hostage. The two of them had run into the shadows, but it wasn't safe there either. Yi Gentle picked up the stone and threw it at the black figure in the sky. If it was someone else, it wouldn't be a big deal if they smashed it. Trying to use a small stone to shoot down an expert with an aircraft in the air was undoubtedly a dream. However, if the person who threw the stone was Yi Ro, the situation would be different. Yi Ro attacked with hatred. Her strength was astonishing. In her hands, a stone thrown out was no different from a shell shot by the men in black with a submachine gun. It was just that there were no explosions or special effects. Because she was too fast, and the stone was flying too fast, no one could hear the sound of the stone flying until it reached the target. Bang! The stone hit the black-clothed man's body. The man screamed and died tragically. There was a big hole in his chest, which was wearing a special bulletproof vest, and the bones in his chest were all broken. The submachine gun in the hands of the man in black stopped firing. His body was carried by the aircraft and drifted in the sky like a ghost without a master. Everyone, disperse and be careful. Seeing that one of his team members was killed by a stone, the captain of the flight team warned in a low voice and gave the order. The black-clothed men immediately broke up their formation and headed towards the summit of One Sword Peak in pairs. With another round of artillery fire, they would be able to blast the entire One Sword Peak into a wasteland. After Yi Ro threw the first stone, she didn't wait for its final result. When a man in black screamed before he died, She had already picked up 2 more stones and threw them at the other 2 men in black in the air. Burst fire. Bang. Only one sound was made, but 2 people were hit at the same time. One's head was smashed by the stone, and blood splattered everywhere. The other one was even more unlucky. His armory was hit by the stone. Boom! The body of the man in black exploded in the air. Countless pieces of flesh and blood flew in the air. The captain of the flight team quickly dodged, but his back was still hit by something. His back was the flight bag of the aircraft, so it helped him block some of the attacks. However, this still made the captain furious. He shouted, "Kill them all! Kill them all!" As he spoke, he held a submachine gun and fired at Yi Ro's position. He saw how powerful Yi Ro was and knew that she was the culprit who caused them to lose 3 of their fighters. In the blink of an eye, they lost 3 trained pilots. This made him feel like his heart was bleeding. He only had these few good seeds, so he couldn't give them up so easily. Otherwise, his position as the captain would be over, and he would be dead when he returned. Hearing the captain's angry roar, the other team members desperately rushed to the top of the mountain. Idiot! Every time a team member died, a red star would be destroyed on their silver shield. This was just the beginning, and they had already destroyed 3 red stars. This meant that 3 of their team members had left the team forever. They were both angry and afraid. No one wanted to be the next unlucky person. If they didn't want to be killed, they could only kill. If they ruthlessly killed the other party and completed the mission as quickly as before, they would be safe. Rumble, rumble, gunfire rained down, and the rumbling sound was endless. On the viewing platform, the audience who didn't know what was going on looked at the top of the mountain in confusion and said, "What's going on? Why do I hear thunder?" It's not thunder, it's Tai Chi Master Fong Yin and the Japanese sword god sparring. They're using their ultimate moves at the same time. One is using the Tai Chi turtle wave technique. The other is using the Japanese ninja technique. There's someone in the sky. Look, there's someone in the sky. Laojun Pavilion. Jiang Zhulu raised his binoculars and looked, and his expression became ferocious. He looked at Lu Qingming and Lan Shanggu, who were sitting in front of him, and said, "Brothers, looks like we have to leave first. What's going on?" Lan Shanggu took Jiang Zhulio's binoculars and looked, then said, "Someone wants to kill us all? Don't tell me they want to put shit on us 3 brothers? What a good move." Jiang Zhulu smiled and said, "Those people are so ruthless. We can't stay and clean up their mess." Lu Qingming also took the binoculars. This was the first time he looked at the top of the mountain with binoculars. After a few glances, he said, "Who are those people? They're so ruthless. They didn't just want to kill Fong Yan, right? But since it's like this, it's probably too late for us to leave now, right? Who knew this would happen?" Lan Shanggu smiled bitterly. "If I knew this would happen, I wouldn't have come." Jiang Zhulu looked at Lan Shanggu with a smile and said, "Brother Shanggu, if Fong Yin really couldn't go back today, wouldn't it be easier for you to do business? Lu Chaoga isn't an easy person to negotiate with." Lan Shanggu shook his head and said, "If Fong Yin died, Lu Chaoga would be a toothless tiger. Other than having a fierce temper, what's the difference between him and a big cat?" Jiang Zhulu smiled and said. Lan Shanggu looked at Jiang Zhulu and said, "Even if Fong Yin can't go back tonight, isn't there an even bigger tiger standing behind Lu Chaoga? That tiger is a real tiger. That tiger is too far away from us. Unless Lu Chaoga moves his company to Beijing, as long as he stays in Huacheng, he can forget about leaving us brothers to get rich. This is the rule. No one can come." Jiang Zhulu, Lu Qingming, and Lan Shanggu looked at each other and laughed. A new alliance of benefits was formed. At the very least, at this moment, everyone present seemed sincere enough. If something happened to Fong Yin, Jiang Zhulu, Lan Shanggu, and Lu Qingming would all be suspects. If Fong Yin were to die, it would be the end of everything. Other than Fong Yin himself, no one else would come to seek justice for the group of dead people on the mountaintop. However, if Fong Yin didn't die, then things would be even worse. Who would Fong Yin suspect? They wanted to leave, but they couldn't. If they left in a hurry, wouldn't it make people suspect that they had a guilty conscience? Smart people like to complicate things, so what they had to do was to simplify things as much as possible. Jiang Zhulu clicked his tongue and said with some pity, "This fireworks show is even more exciting than the battle just now. It's a pity that there's no wine to accompany the meal." What a pity. Jiang Zhulu had already finished all the wine he brought, and the show was over. It was time to leave, but he didn't think that there would be another competition now. Clearly, he wasn't satisfied. Lu Qingming thoughtfully looked at the sky above his head and said, 9 out of 10 things don't go as one wishes. Who can be perfect? I always feel that we have enough. If we are too greedy, we will be punished by heaven. Look, isn't there a perfect example above us? Chapter 279. The top of one sword peak became hell on earth. After numerous rounds of indiscriminate gunfire, as well as the green liquid splashing all over the place, there wasn't a single place left intact on a mountaintop. Rocks were broken, trees were burnt, weeds were blackened, insects and birds were all dead. From above, there weren't any signs of life at all. Some of the dried wood was being burned, letting out crackling noises. This was the only sound at the top of one sword peak. "Captain, are they all dead?" a team member asked through their helmet communicator. They originally only wanted to kill Fong Yen alone, but his resistance was so intense that they were afraid of being crushed to death by the rocks. So they madly fired at the top of one sword peak until they emptied all their weapons. They had lost their minds just now. According to their training, they weren't allowed to use up any more weapons after killing their target. They were supposed to keep at least 20% of their weapons for emergencies. This was the first time they'd ever done something like flattening an entire mountain in one go. Who told them to face a bunch of freaks that could fly around and shoot down airplanes with rocks? It should be, the captain cautiously scanned his surroundings, then finally made his decision and said, "They're all dead." The captain gestured with his hand and ordered, "Retreat." The team members received their orders and prepared to dive down. At this point, something unexpected happened. A rock whistled towards the back of a black-clothed pilot. The pilot was shocked and raised a shield to block it. Clang! With a dull thud, the black-clothed pilot and his shield were both sent flying by the rock. It wasn't until he flipped a few times in the air that he screamed in pain and fell down into the abyss. "Hurry up and retreat," the captain issued an emergency order. "There's clearly no one here, so why are there still rocks flying towards them?" Following that, a catastrophic scene unfolded. Dozens of rocks were flying towards them. Not just rocks, but also knives, iron lotus seeds, leaves, iron thorns, all sorts of strange objects were flying towards them. "Wait a minute, what's with that string of prayer beads?" "Captain, my aircraft was damaged. Retreat. There's a lot of them. I need to replenish my weapons. The team members screamed out in pain. There were constantly members who were shot down or killed by the flying objects. They had no weapons to fight back. They wanted to escape, but the stones and hidden weapons followed them. The captain opened his mouth and was about to issue a new order when he suddenly found a rope around his neck. Panicking, he piloted the aircraft and prepared to escape. As soon as the aircraft flew over the canyon, a woman in black jumped up with a whoosh. She stepped on her shoulders like a heroine who was riding a flying beast to fight with humans. Yuan's short hair danced in the wind. She tied the whip around the captain's neck, and with a slight lift of the whip, the captain had to change direction according to her wishes. The captain felt extremely humiliated, but the rope was so tight that he couldn't breathe, let alone make a forceful counterattack. He took off his leather gloves and quietly reached into his pocket. There was still the last silver bullet. The reason why he kept it was to use it to perish together with the enemy. Now, it really came in handy. His arm went numb, and the silver bullet was in the hands of that hateful woman. Yuan squatted on the aircraft behind the captain, holding the silver bullet, and asked, "As long as you press this red button, the bomb will explode. Is that right?" The captain's eyes were filled with fear, but he was unwilling to answer Yuan. Yuan took off the captain's helmet and said, "Let's do an experiment." She pressed the red button and stuffed the silver bullet into the captain's mouth. The rope around his neck disappeared, and the captain felt a lot more relaxed. Even his breathing became normal. He suddenly felt a little hot in his mouth, as if his mouth was getting bigger and bigger. Isn't that my chin? Boom! The silver bullet exploded in the captain's mouth. The exploded body and the aircraft he was carrying turned into pieces. The entire flying team was annihilated. Some people weren't weak, but they were unlucky. They allowed Fong Yin to fight to the death with the Japanese sword god Chiba Toyotomi. If Chiba Toyotomi killed Fong Yin, they would retreat quietly as if they had never appeared. If Chiba was injured by Fong Yin, or both sides were injured, they would kill and annihilate them when they were at their weakest and most fatigued. What other heaven-defying things could these two patients do? With the help of the most advanced aircraft, they were equipped with the most lethal firearms. With a round of artillery bombardment, even a Zenith Heaven Golden Immortal would be smashed into pieces by them. However, they didn't expect that because of the duel between Fong Yin and Chiba, some Lingnan masters and hermits who cultivated nearby all came to watch. There were so many masters on Solitary Sword Peak that it was enough to hold a martial arts circle convention. They used submachine guns to kill Fong Yin, which was equivalent to killing all those masters at the same time. These masters were more arrogant and unruly than the other. How could they be willing to be bullied for no reason? It was only natural for them to fight back when they got the chance. Therefore, the people in the arsenal and the people behind them didn't expect that they would offend such a group of lunatics and get such a miserable result. God will take care of those who are despicable, Fong Yin thought happily in his heart. If they weren't so despicable, they could still be good friends. At this time, all kinds of strange people crawled out from all kinds of unexpected places. There was a bald monk, a Taoist priest in a layman's robe, a one-eared fatso, a handsome middle-aged man in a black robe, and a charming girl. Eugenil was fine, and so were Phoenix and Chiba's son. Fong Yingying and Fong Haohan also crawled out from the corner, but they looked too disheveled. Of course, there were so many masters present that all looked disheveled. Fong Yingying and Fong Haohan trotted over and asked with concern, "Junior Marshal Uncle, are you okay?" "I'm fine," Fong Yin said with a smile. "I didn't even have time to make a move before those guys were all killed," Fong Haohan said with a smile. They brought this upon themselves. Good people like us will naturally be blessed by God and live a peaceful life, Fong Yingying said with a proud smile. Chiba's son looked around for her father. Phoenix walked over and said, "These people had a good idea. Unfortunately, their luck wasn't that good. It's fine if they wanted to kill me, but they even bullied my idol seniors. This is too much," Fong Yin shouted with a face full of anger. "Arsenal, I will not live under the same sky as you guys. If I don't take revenge, I'm not a man." Phoenix glanced at Fong Yin and said, "All right, stop pretending to be angry. You're so happy that you can't even close your mouth, right? Didn't you shout out the name of the arsenal to let those old guys who were bullied hold a grudge against them? Now you've achieved your goal, haven't you?" Fong Yin secretly glanced around and whispered to Phoenix, "Don't tell anyone. That arsenal is too powerful. I can't deal with it alone. I have no reason not to do it if I can make a few enemies for them. Besides, they really want to kill everyone on the top of this mountain." "I'm not lying. I won't say that. As for whether others will say it or not, I don't know. They have a strong sense of justice." Phoenix glanced at Yiro, who was standing at the side, and sneered. "I don't talk nonsense with people." Yiro looked at Phoenix's provocative eyes. "If I'm not satisfied with someone, I'll just beat them up. What made you so arrogant that you think you're invincible? More and more people are defeated by me. Others might be afraid of you, Yiro, but I'm not. You're the #1 in Neijiang. Aren't you just bragging? If you're not convinced, you can try. Anytime, I say." Fong Yin wanted to mediate. "Today is a big day. There's no need to be so contradictory, right?" "Shut up," Phoenix and Yiro shouted at the same time. Fong Yin looked up at the sky, a little helpless in his eyes. The bald monk spat at the sky, strode to Fong Yin, and shouted, "Fong family's boy, eat my fist. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be in such a sorry state. I've long been annoyed by you." The Taoist priest dressed in layman's clothes walked up to Fong Yin and bowed with one hand clasped in front of him, saying, "I'm Qing Yun, Layman Weed's good-for-nothing disciple. Congratulations to Layman Fong for winning the first battle and defeating the Japanese sword god. Qing Yun has benefited a lot from today's battle, so I want to set a date with Layman Fong so that I can learn your godly skill." I'm Kai Zhonghong, the king of gossip who questioned why the Japanese sword god didn't challenge you. I originally planned to challenge him after the Japanese defeated you, but since you're the big winner of this match, I can only challenge you. Do you think we should continue fighting today, or should we set a date for another duel? Kai Zhonghong, get lost, I've already booked. Seeing a group of experts clamoring for a duel with Fong Yin, Fong Yinging and Fong Haoen's expressions were a little awkward, and they couldn't help but want to stand further away from Fong Yin. Fong Yin held his head and shouted, "Ouch! I'm a little dizzy. Heroes, help me. I think I've lost too much blood. I'm a little anemic." Before Fong Yinging and Fong Haoen could escape, Fong Yin's body had already fallen into their arms. The two looked at each other, wanting to cry, but having no tears. Chapter 280. When Fong Yin opened his eyes, he heard Fong Yinging and Fong Haoen chatting. Junior Martial Uncle is indeed Junior Martial Uncle. He's even so professional at pretending to be dead. I can't help but admire him. He was afraid that he would be surrounded by those experts he offended on One Sword Peak and take revenge, so he pretended to be dead and hasn't woken up yet. This was Fong Yinging's voice. That's right. If the two of us pretended to sleep for 1 or 2 hours at most, we'd be alive and kicking after everyone has left. How could we be like Junior Martial Uncle, who slept for 2 days and 2 nights and still isn't willing to wake up? Do you think Junior Martial Uncle really fainted at that time? I suspect that it was definitely fainting. This was Fong Haoen's voice. Fong Yin was shocked. He actually slept for 2 days? At that time, he just didn't want to accept the challenge from Gossip King Weed Hermit's disciple and the old monks group, who would want to fight to the death with them for no reason. His occupation was a teacher, and his primary responsibility was to educate people. Fighting and killing was uncivilized. Isn't that obvious? I asked him if he had any problems before, and he said he was fine. Gossip King Weed Hermit's disciple fainted as soon as these people came to challenge him. It's obvious that he was acting. Fong Yinging said confidently, "It's not like you don't know Junior Martial Uncle's temperament. It's not like he's only done this kind of thing once or twice. But Junior Martial Uncle's injuries are really serious. Even Phoenix and Missy said so. Tell me, does Phoenix like Junior Martial Uncle or not? These 2 days, she's been brewing medicine and wiping his body. She doesn't treat herself as an outsider at all. At that time, on One Sword Peak, Missy didn't want us to fight the Thousand Leaves army. She said that even if the Yi family's people were all dead, there's no need for us to die. Is there something we don't know?" Yes, I've heard that too. Fong Yinging lowered his voice. "I've been thinking about this sentence for the past 2 days. Say, could it be that Miss Yi is deeply in love with our Junior Martial Uncle and has already regarded herself as the Fong family's daughter-in-law? Impossible, right? Junior Martial Uncle was beaten black and blue every time he fought with Miss Yi. He couldn't get out of bed for more than half a month. What kind of daughter-in-law would beat her future husband like that?" Fong Yinging thought about it seriously and said, "It's not impossible. Think about it. Miss Yi's skills are so good, and she has violent tendencies. Whenever she has something to do, she'll definitely find someone to beat up. Take the inner world, for example. How many people could be a match for Miss Yi? Apart from Junior Martial Uncle, who else could be worthy of her? A young disciple who could exchange blows with her and not be beaten to death by her? What was that sentence again? Flirting and scolding is love. Don't fight or scold. Maybe Miss Yi is in such a situation now." Fong Haoen sighed softly and said, "Does Miss Yi want a husband or a human punching bag? Junior Martial Uncle is so pitiful." Fong Yinging also sighed. Fong Yin listened and gritted his teeth. He asked fiercely, "Who are you saying is pitiful?" Junior Martial Uncle is... Fong Yinging was about to answer, "Junior Martial Uncle is pitiful," when he suddenly felt something was wrong. His fat face instantly changed color. With red eyes, he rushed to Fong Yin on the bed and said excitedly, "Junior Martial Uncle is finally awake." "That's great, that's really great." "Junior Martial Uncle, do you know that you've been unconscious for 2 days? If you don't wake up, I don't know how to live." Fong Yin glanced at Fong Yinging with disdain and said, "What do you mean by don't know how to live? Do you want to eat stewed noodles or a lamb chop for your next meal? Junior martial uncle, you don't know. I haven't eaten much in the 2 days you were unconscious. Fong Haohan has no appetite like me. Look at how hungry he is. Fong Haohan nodded repeatedly. The skin on his cheeks was like bones. He looked really hungry. Fong Haohan won't be so hungry if he ate less glass shards. Fong Yin said snappily, "Go get me a glass of water." Okay. Fong Yingying and Fong Haohan ran outside at the same time. Fong Yingying, stay. Fong Yin shouted. Fong Yingying's face was full of bitterness. When he turned around, his face was already full of smiles. He said, "Junior martial uncle, do you have something to ask me? What happened after I fainted?" Fong Yin asked aloud. Junior martial uncle really doesn't know? Seeing that Fong Yin was about to lose his temper again, Fong Yingying quickly said, "Of course Junior martial uncle doesn't know. Because Junior martial uncle really fainted at that time. Seeing you faint, those people naturally dispersed." "That's it?" Fong Yin asked curiously. "Not yet," Fong Yingying said. "Fong Yingying, I don't have much strength right now. If you wait for me to ask any more questions, the first thing I do when I get up will be to beat you in a meat paste." Fong Yingying was shocked and quickly said, "After Junior martial uncle fainted, Qing Yun said goodbye and left. When he left, he said he would come back to fight with Junior martial uncle in a month. That bald monk snatched the second place and said he would come back to fight with Junior martial uncle 2 months later so that Junior martial uncle could recuperate and not be slapped to death by him. Kai Zhonghong, the king of gossip, was ranked 3rd. He said don't lose to Qing Yun and the bald monk. Otherwise, if he challenged you again, it would be a pity." Fong Yan's eyes were dull and said, "I fainted, and they still didn't let me go. That's what I said at the time." Fong Yingying said. Seeing Fong Yan's eyes looking at him, Fong Yingying added, "In the end, I was slapped on the head by that bald monk. I wasn't convinced. I originally wanted to fight him for 300 rounds. Stop bragging. You couldn't even last 3 rounds." Fong Yin said. Fong Yingying grinned and said, "Great minds think alike. When I saw that I couldn't beat him, I didn't take the initiative to hit him. Can someone like you be considered a hero?" "My name is Hero." Fong Haohan brought the water over. After drinking a large cup of warm water, Fong Yin felt much better. He asked Fong Yingying and Fong Haohan to help him up. Seeing the gauze wrapped around his chest, he knew it was the work of a girl. He said, "This is from the Phoenix Bun?" "Yes. The Phoenix cleaned your body, stitched your wounds, applied ointment for you. She also helped you shave and dig out your earwax." "Where's Yiro?" Fong Yin asked. When Miss Yi came, the Phoenix was cleaning your body, stitching your wounds, applying ointment, shaving your beard, and digging out your earwax. She probably felt that she couldn't find anything to do, so she turned around and left. Fong Yin smiled bitterly and said, "Why? Why what?" Fong Yingying asked in confusion. "What do you know?" Fong Yin shouted angrily. "Everything was done by the Phoenix. What did you 2 idiots do?" Fong Yingying and Fong Haohan looked at each other. Fong Haohan said bitterly, "We're too stupid. That's why we can't do anything. We can only sit there and watch over Junior martial uncle. No wonder people say that stupid people have stupid luck. However, some people are really stupid. Some people are just pretending to be stupid." "Knock, knock, knock." Fong Yingying went forward and gently knocked on the door. Creak. The wooden door of the small courtyard was pulled open. Qing Yin saw Fong Yin, Fong Yingying, and Fong Haohan standing at the door. He asked cautiously, "What do you want?" Qing Yin's Huaxiao language was still not good. It took a lot of effort to understand what he was saying. Fong Yin waved his hand to tell Qing Yin not to be nervous. He said with a smile, "I'm here to see your master." Qing Yin hesitated. A man's voice came from behind. "Qing Yin, an important guest is here. Invite the guest in." Qing Yin stepped to the side and made an inviting gesture. Chiba Shinobu stood in the courtyard. He was wearing a wide-sleeved robe. His skin was fair. He didn't change much from when they first met. However, Fong Yin could still feel the gloomy and dejected aura from him. He had lost something very important. Domineering. The sword god of Japan, the #1 martial artist in Japan, had lost his domineering aura. This was obviously a very regrettable thing. Fang Yin stood in front of Chiba Shinobu with a trace of pity on his face. Chiba Shinobu laughed. He's just a loser. Why are you troubled, Fang Yin-san? You didn't lose in swordsmanship. You lost in the way of the world, Fang Yin said. Japan is still too small. It will limit your vision and mind, which is not good for understanding swordsmanship. This kind of thing can't be changed by one person. It also can't be changed by the power of a country. Japan once had the chance to rise to the sky in one step, but it failed. Failure is inevitable, Fang Yin said with a smile. You come to Huaxia. You've stepped on the land of Huaxia. You've seen it with your own eyes and heard it with your own ears. You should know how cohesive and hardworking this nation is. Do you know why we're called the descendants of the dragon? Because our ancestors had such expectations for us. They hoped that all of us would be like dragons. One dragon can turn the world upside down. What kind of power and miracles can 3 billion dragons exert? You'll see it. People all over the world will see it. Chiba gently shook his head and said with a smile, Fang Yin, don't tell me how big your country is, and don't tell me how outstanding your people are. The East Asians are just as outstanding, and they work just as hard. But I'm still not optimistic about its future. The reason why I'm not optimistic is that Japan lacks young people like you. What they lack is not one, but a group, Chiba Shinobu said with a sad expression. If we also have a group of young people like you, who are brimming with talent, hot-blooded, fearless of death, and brave to meet any challenge, our future will be better than it is now. Unfortunately, we don't. If the young are rich, the country will be rich. If the young are strong, the country will be strong. This is the most precious asset of a country. Fang Yin smiled and said, Mr. Chiba, thank you. Thank you for saving me. You have brilliant swordsmanship and the heart of a warrior that matches it. Chiba Shinobu looked at Fang Yin and said, Fang Yin, promise me one thing. I can't change my nationality, Fang Yin said with a serious expression. Chapter 281. Chiba Hattori's face and forehead were full of scars. Although they had been treated with medicine, they were not specially bandaged with gauze. Therefore, those wounds were like little red flowers growing in the wild grass, looking particularly delicate and dazzling. Fang Yin's face was also injured, but his face was often injured, so the people around him were used to it. However, when Chiba Hattori's face was injured, everyone felt that it was particularly funny and strange. The head of the Japanese Ministry of War was the Japanese sword god. When he first came to Huaxia, he wore a white, wide-sleeved robe every day like an immortal. At first glance, one could tell that he was a high-quality uncle with knowledge, quality, and wealth. If those love-struck girls saw him, they would definitely yell, "Come to my bowl." However, it didn't take long for him to be beaten up by Fang Yin. It was sad to think of it. Qing Yin refused to leave and stood behind Chiba Hattori. If Fang Yin dared to do anything, he would rush up and be beaten up by Fang Yin. Chiba Hattori also came out, and he looked even more embarrassed. His eyes were still purple-black, and there were several scars on his forehead. One of his arms was tied with a bamboo board. When he walked, he couldn't help but look at his crotch, because Fang Haohen had kicked it there. His mouth was puffed up like a frog that might jump up and eat insects at any time. He stared at Fang Haohen fiercely and hatefully. Obviously, Fang Haohen had replaced Fang Yan's position and become his most hated enemy in his mind. Hearing Fang Yan's refusal, Chiba Hattori looked stunned and said, "Why do you think I would make such a request?" Fang Yin looked at Chiba Hattori and said, "People always tell me that a person will pursue what he lacks. You said that your country lacks talented and hot-blooded young people like me, who are not afraid of death and dare to face any challenge. I'm worried that you will ask me to change my nationality and enter Japan. I know that there are some people who gave up their Huaxia nationality to work for you because they participated in your talent introduction program. However, this group of people will never include me." Fang Yan's memory was still very good. He repeated the words that others had praised him without missing a word. His laughter was clear and bright, like the cry of a crane. He laughed for a while, then looked at Fang Yin and said, "If I put forward such a condition to you, and you happen to be willing to accept it, would you still be the kind of young man I talked about? Lord Fong Yin, 99% of the things in this world can be sold and sold. Only moral integrity is difficult to value. What kind of moral integrity is it if it can be evaluated? Do you think I have integrity? Fong Yin couldn't help but laugh. Yes, I think so too, Fong Yin said. I just want to ask my international enemy to confirm it for me again. Because my grandfather told me that the person who understands you the most will always be your opponent. Your grandfather is right, Chiba Hirobumi said. Fong Yin looked at Chiba and said, when you suddenly jumped, I thought you hadn't given up, so I sent you flying. Later, when I saw the black shadow in your eyes, I realized that you were trying to save me. I'm very curious. If you wanted to kill me so badly, why did you save me at that critical moment? I wanted to kill you, Chiba said. That doesn't mean I wanted to see you killed. Are you saying that I must die by your hands? At least you shouldn't be killed so shamelessly. You are also a person with integrity, Fong Yin commented. If it were you, would you have saved me? Fong Yin looked around, then lowered his voice and said, I won't hide it in front of you. I wouldn't, because at that time, I was defeated by you, and my heart was filled with hatred. I was thinking about how to stab you and punch you. If someone else did it for me, I wouldn't blame them for not telling me in advance. Besides, I'm afraid of death. What if you don't like me and finish me off with a stab? If someone helped me create an opportunity, I would definitely get up and run down the mountain. Staying alive is more important. You came to challenge me at this age. When I grow to your age, I will challenge you again. As long as you don't die, we will meet again. Fong Yin grinned and said, of course, if there were outsiders here, I wouldn't have answered like this. I will express my heartfelt gratitude for your noble character and unquestionable integrity, and I will strongly condemn the actions of those who ambushed you. They ruined a fair and just duel of high quality, and their actions are an insult to us pure warriors. You did what you should have done. If it were me, I would have done the same. Isn't this answer more pleasing? It is indeed more pleasing, Chiba nodded. You live more realistically than I do. No, I live more shamelessly than you, Fong Yin said. Many people say that about me, but I have never admitted it. However, you are my savior. I am willing to confess in front of you, because I can't do what you can do. This is where I'm not as good as you. So, I am willing to promise you one thing. I hope, wait. Fong Yin quickly interrupted Chiba and said, the request you put forward must be something that I can do, and I am willing to do it. As long as it doesn't violate national policies, laws, and regulations, I won't be scolded as despicable, shameless, and nasty. I also have a profession as a teacher. Sometimes, I have to maintain my personal image. Chiba was stunned for a long time. Finally, he said, I want to see don't underestimate the enemy. Why does he want to see my master? Is it because he was defeated by Junior Martial Uncle that he is not convinced and wants to challenge my master? Fong Yingying asked with a puzzled face. He is courting death. Fong Haoan made an accurate conclusion about Chiba's behavior. Fong Yan's face was gloomy. He said, he is an opponent worthy of respect. Fortunately, there is only one Chiba in Japan. When the three returned to the school, the gate of the small courtyard was wide open. Fong Yingying put on an alert posture and said in a low voice, there are thieves in the house. Slap. Fong Yin slapped his head. Because he was still very weak, the slap was not strong enough, which made people feel a little sorry. Fong Yin strode into the house. There were 3 more people in the house. If the 3 of them were thieves, then they would be 3 beautiful female thieves. Yiro, who was in black clothes and pants, stood on the windowsill, looking at the nursery in the yard with clear eyes. She clearly saw Fong Yin, Fong Yingying, and Fong Haoan come back, but it seemed that she did not care about their existence at all. She wore a white, high-slit dress covered with black spots and a white blouse. The hem of the blouse was tucked into the long dress, giving her a stylish and capable look. Phoenix, who wore a light pink suit jacket, sat on the sofa in the living room. Lu Chaoga occupied the master's seat and was boiling water to make tea for Phoenix and Yiro. Phoenix saw Fong Yin come in, but she was still smiling and talking with Lu Chaoga. She said, You are very skilled in making tea. It seems that you do this kind of thing often. I like to drink tea. Lu Chaoga had a soft smile on her face. It was neither hot nor deliberate. But Fong Yan's understanding of the tea ceremony is far above mine. When we first met, he took out the tea I served to him and made clear comments. Later on, we got to know each other better, and I learned even more about the tea ceremony from him. He is a very knowledgeable man. This is very rare in a young man. Phoenix held the teacup in her hands and sipped her tea. She said, Fong Yin does have the habit of showing off his skills. Back in Yinjing, he would often use his strange and unusual knowledge to pick up girls. Of course, he had never succeeded. Because everyone in Yinjing who knows him knows what kind of person he is. By the way, Miss Lu, you seem to be very familiar with this courtyard. You know this room as well as your own home. Do you come here often? This is my courtyard, Lu Chaoga said. When Fong Yin first came, he didn't have a place to live, so I lent him the courtyard. Of course, I plant a lot of flowers and plants, and he had to pay me to take care of them. Fortunately, Fong Yin is also very proficient in this area. Under his care, the flowers and plants grew even healthier. Moreover, several pots of plants that were originally showing signs of withering were also brought back to life because of his miraculous hands. Look, those are the spider plants. They are now growing so beautifully. A few days ago, they even bloomed, but now the flowers have withered. Phoenix smiled even more happily and said, 2 days ago, when I was helping Fong Yin wipe his body, I was curious. This kid was beaten up by a wild woman to the point that he didn't dare to go home. He just came to Flower City, and now he has such a house to live in. I can't help but be envious. This kid's luck with women is quite good. Lu Chaoga turned her head to look at Fong Yin and said, Fong Yin is indeed a very good person. He has helped me a lot. Even my life was saved by him. If I can help him with something, I will be very happy. Heavens, you had such an experience? Phoenix asked in surprise. My life was also saved by him. I don't know if he has told you about it, but we are childhood friends. It is not an exaggeration to say that we are childhood sweethearts. It was a snowy winter, and we went ice skating together. I accidentally fell into a hole in the ice, and it was Fong Yin who jumped in first to pull me out. Although people later said that he deliberately used Tai Chi wave to shatter the ice, I don't believe that he would do such a thing. That day, it was raining heavily. Fong Yin and I were eating at Sky No. 1 in Flower City. When we came out, it was already very late and the rain was very heavy. Suddenly, a car rushed over from behind. Fong Yin stood at the side and listened. The two women were not stingy with their words of praise for him. If he had not heard it with his own ears, he would not have known that he was actually so handsome and charming. However, Fong Yin did not feel happy at all. What were these two crazy women trying to do by showing off their affection in such a high-profile manner? Chapter 282. There must be a reason for something abnormal. Fong Yin understood Lu Chaoga, and he also understood Phoenix. Neither of them were women who liked to show off, and neither were they the kind of cute little women who would squeeze their chubby faces together with their boyfriends to pout and act cute. After taking photos, they would post them on their WeChat moments and wait for everyone to like them. One of them was cold and quiet, while the other was arrogant and seductive. Many things were seen through without saying anything, and they would use their own unique way to protect and repay the kindness of others. Did they take the wrong medicine today? That night, the rain was too heavy, and I couldn't see anything around me. It was dark and the road was slippery, and the car didn't have its lights on. If it wasn't for Fong Yin, who suddenly rushed over and hugged me and pushed me away, I think I would have become a pile of bones by now. That was the first time I realized how close death was to me. This time, it wasn't just to show off their love. Even Phoenix could hear Lu Chaoga's indescribable gratitude and trust towards Fong Yin from her narration. Although it was dangerous to be a hero saving a damsel in distress, the reward was also relatively rich. Of course, that was under the condition that you weren't too ugly. After listening to Lu Chaoga's narration, Phoenix exclaimed and said, "So something like this happened between the two of you. Although Fong Yin and I can be considered childhood sweethearts and have gone through many trials and tribulations together, I always felt that it wasn't as passionate as the two of you. When he held you in his arms, you must have felt very happy, right? Lu Chaoga smiled and said, he held me in his arms, and then rolled on the ground to avoid the impact of the car. At that time, I definitely didn't feel anything strange. Now that I think about it, it must have felt very sweet. Phoenix seemed to have just noticed Fang Yan's existence and said, Fang Yan, sit down and have some tea. What? You don't want Miss Lu to tell the story between the two of you? I think it's pretty good. In the past, everyone thought you were a lazy and cunning TCH. Today, after listening to Miss Lu's words, our understanding of you has been completely subverted. Fang Yingying and Fang Haohan exchanged glances with each other. Both of them were unwilling to give up. Why would a woman speak up for Junior Marshal Uncle? So why wouldn't he be a jerk? Junior Marshal Uncle has been guiding the industry trends. Okay? Now I feel that you are a loyal and righteous bitch, Phoenix praised. I've never thought that something like this would happen to you. You'll be willing to do anything for a person, for a woman. As she said that, Phoenix looked at Fang Yan with a slightly resentful expression. She didn't know if she regretted that the brave Fang Yan didn't belong to her, or if she blamed Fang Yan for not changing for her. Fang Yan walked to Lu Chaoga's side and sat down, saying in a deep voice, What exactly do you two want? Don't tell me it's for my own good. Phoenix glanced at Fang Yan and said, I'm praising you. Can't you tell? Two strangers meeting for the first time? Naturally, we need to find some common topics. The only thing we have in common is you. So, we naturally have to talk about you. What's so hard to understand? You heard it from the side. Did we ever say anything bad about you? Didn't you see it just now? When Miss Lu said that you pushed her away from the front of the car, her eyes were red with emotion. You didn't arrange the car that caused the accident, right? Phoenix giggled and said, Of course not. I believe that the ice wasn't broken by you, and I also believe that you didn't arrange the car. You're such a coward. Even if you wanted to be a hero to save the damsel in distress, you wouldn't do such a stupid thing. Why is there so much sweat on your forehead? Do you feel uncomfortable? It's not that I want to criticize you, but your chest injury is so serious. Before you recover, don't run around. Lu Chaoga didn't pour tea for Fang Yan. Instead, she cleaned the cup, poured a cup of water, and placed it in front of Fang Yan, saying, I heard that you're injured, so I came to see you. Your wound hasn't healed yet. Don't drink tea. Drink more water, Phoenix praised and said, Miss Lu really knows how to take care of people, much better than those women who only know how to fight and kill. Yi Ro frowned slightly. Her fingers grasped hard, and a piece of blue brick above the window was pulled down by her. She didn't look back, but with a flick of her wrist, the brick flew towards Phoenix, who was sitting on the sofa in the living room. Whoosh! As the brick flew, sand and dust fell. Phoenix pointed her finger, and the cup of hot tea in her hand flew towards Yi Ro. The brick and the teacup brushed past each other in the air, and Phoenix raised her hand to catch the brick, while Yi Ro chopped with her palm, and the teacup flew towards Phoenix at an even faster and fiercer speed. Phoenix extended her hand to receive the teacup. However, just as her fingers made contact with the teacup, a cracking sound rang out. The teacup exploded into pieces, and the tea inside splashed all over Phoenix's slit dress. Obviously, Yi Ro had added a calming force to the tea, and when another force tried to touch and control the teacup, that force immediately counterattacked. As a result, the two forces collided, and the teacup shattered. This was not something that could be done by someone with great magic. Fang Yan could do it, but Fang Yingying and Fang Haohan definitely couldn't do it. Phoenix was furious. She slammed her palm on the tea table in front of her, jumped up high, and kicked Yi Ro's back with her golden high heels. Yi Ro tilted her body, and Phoenix went out through the window. As Phoenix passed by Yi Ro, she grabbed the scarf around Yi Ro's neck. Yi Ro tiptoed and followed Phoenix out of the yard. Bang, bang, bang. This was the sound of their fists and feet colliding. Crack, crack. This was the sound of a branch breaking. Clink, clank, clank. This was the sound of a flower pot in the nursery falling to the ground and shattering. Fang Yan sighed softly and continued to drink the warm water inside the teacup. He had sweated a lot just now. and he was indeed a little thirsty. Lu Chaoga was shocked and said, "They're fighting. Aren't you going to go and see?" "I don't dare to go," Fang Yin said. "Why?" "To calm them down. Otherwise, they'll team up and beat up the third person who breaks in," Fang Yin said. But Lu Chaoga couldn't imagine it. How could these people fight just because they wanted to, and they were so fierce? "If you don't believe me, I'll do an experiment for you," Fang Yin said. Fang Ying's face was pale, and he knelt down in front of Fang Yin and begged, "Junior Martial Uncle, I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have been lazy. I shouldn't have washed your face when you were unconscious. I shouldn't have eaten a few meals a day. I shouldn't have used up your treasured ambergris." This time it was Fang Yan's turn to be shocked, and he shouted, "You used up my ambergris?" Fang Haohan also used some. "We were afraid that you wouldn't wake up, and these natural treasures would be wasted," Fang Ying explained. So Fang Yin kicked Fang Ying out. Soon enough, Fang Yingxiong flew back, screaming in pain. In the process of entering and exiting, his face and body were punched countless times, and his eyes were like panda eyes. Fang Haohan hid in the corner, holding his head, and didn't dare to breathe. Lu Zhaoga looked at Fang Yingxiong with lingering fear in his heart. He thought to himself, no wonder Fang Yin wasn't willing to come out to mediate the situation, even though the two women were fighting so fiercely outside. Who would dare to go out? But I'm sitting with these two women, drinking tea, chatting, and arguing. If they fight, even my bodyguards don't dare to warm up for them, right? The fight between Yi Ro and the Phoenix became more and more intense, and the flowers and plants in the yard suffered. Lu Zhaoga's expression became more and more unsightly as he heard the clanking sounds of jars breaking. Those were her painstaking efforts. Yi Ro used her whirlwind kick, and as her body rolled, she kicked 108 times in a row. When the Phoenix tried to block, it revealed an opening, and Yi Ro kicked it away. Clang! The Phoenix's body hit the wall heavily, and a trace of blood flowed from the corner of her mouth. But with the help of the rebound, she rushed toward Yi Ro again. Bang! The Phoenix punched Yi Ro in the stomach, and Yi Ro took a few steps back. Seeing the Phoenix chasing after her, she tiptoed, and a large piece of sharp porcelain scraped toward the Phoenix's face. The Phoenix turned 90 degrees, and while dodging the attack of the porcelain, she also lost the best chance to knock down Yi Ro. The two distanced themselves from each other and looked at each other with hostility. The number one in the inner world is just SOSO. The Phoenix sneered. I've been wanting to fight with you for a long time. In that case, why did you make me wait until now? I just didn't get the chance. Good food is not afraid of late, and now I have the chance, right? I hope you won't let me down. But you, the number one in the inner world, have already let me down. Yi Ro didn't want to stop. She tiptoed, and her body flew up again. She punched the Phoenix's head, and even if she didn't get a concussion, she wanted to paralyze the Phoenix's face. The Phoenix ran a few steps, and her body also jumped up. Her long legs flew out, and the pointed high-heeled shoes stabbed toward Yi Ro's chest. Puncture your big breasts. Boom! They quickly exchanged dozens of blows in the air, and then their bodies brushed past each other. Yi Ro's fist missed, and the Phoenix's high-heeled shoes stabbed into the wall with great force. A big hole appeared in the wall, and the heel of the high-heeled shoes was twisted off. Fang Yin had to stand up. He stood in the yard and shouted, "Stop! I'll be disfigured, plop!" Fang Yan's body was knocked away. He struggled to get up from the ground, covered his bloody face, and said, I knew it. I'll be disfigured if I keep hitting. Chapter 283. Fang Yan's sacrifice was worthwhile. At least Phoenix and Yi Ro didn't continue to fight. Lu Chaoga was also worried. If they kept fighting like this, the whole building, no, the whole Rosefinch High School would be torn down by them. How could he pluck a brick out of the wall just by grabbing it with his hand? Phoenix and Yi Ro distanced themselves from each other. They looked at each other with hostility, like two aggressive roosters. Puff! Phoenix suddenly laughed. She looked at Yi Ro and said, What? You don't want to give up? You're the one who doesn't want to give up, Yi Ro said with disdain. Of course I don't want to give up, Phoenix said. If I can't get it, I won't let you get it. Who told me to hate you so much? I think Lu Chaoga is very good. Much better than you. I don't want what others snatch, Yi Rou said coldly. I hope you keep your word, Phoenix said with a sly smile like a fox. Phoenix left, so did Yi Rou. Phoenix was very happy when she left. She patted Fong Yan's face and told him to take care of himself. She also patted Fong Yingying and Fong Hao's shoulders and told them to take good care of Junior Martial Uncle. In fact, Fong Yingying and Fong Hao also wanted her to pat their faces. They had even prepared their faces in advance. Unfortunately, Phoenix didn't let them get what they wanted. Phoenix also chatted with Lu Chaoga for a long time. She kept praising Lu Chaoga's beauty and saying that she and Fong Yan were a match made in heaven. It was as if the two of them had been friends for decades, and she knew Lu Chaoga very well. Yi Rou also left. Yi Rou left very quietly. She just glanced at Fong Yan and then turned to leave. Fong Yingying and Fong Hao wanted to stay, but didn't dare to send them off. He just followed behind Yi Rou timidly and watched her walk out of the courtyard. When she stepped out of the gate, Yi Rou walked in a free and easy manner, while Fong Yingying and Fong Hao walked in a wretched way. Fong Yin lay on the sofa, and Lu Chaoga helped him apply the ointment on the wound on his face. The wound on his face from the Battle of One Sword Peak had yet to heal, and now he had to suffer another innocent injury. He was afraid that he wouldn't be able to go out and meet anyone for 10 days to half a month. Now you know what kind of people they are, right? Why are you getting involved in their conflict? Do you know how dangerous this is? Fong Yin kindly reminded him, although it was too late to remind him now. I've long heard that you're going to have a duel with the Japanese swordsman, but I didn't go to watch it. I dare not. I have confidence in you. I know you will win. We've been through so many things together, and you've never lost, but I still dare not go there. I'm afraid that something bad will happen. I was the first one to come in, and I opened the gate. Then Miss Yi Rou came, and the last one was Miss Phoenix. Miss Phoenix and Miss Yi Rou don't get along very well, because Phoenix has been provoking Miss Yi since she came. Miss Yi doesn't like to talk, so she left her seat and stood by the window alone. I can see that she wants to wait for you to come back. Otherwise, she would have left a long time ago, according to her character. Lu Chaoga was one of the people involved in the incident. She told some of the things that happened before Fong Yin came back. There are only a few ways for women to fight. First is to rope in more people to support themselves. Second is to suppress and isolate the opponent. The frequency of this method is very high. Miss Phoenix did it very well. She needed someone to cooperate with her, and I became the person who cooperated with her. Seeing Fong Yin frown, Lu Chaoga smiled and said, Miss Phoenix is a person who can be easily seen through, but it's hard for Miss Yi to let others know what she's thinking. Since Miss Phoenix wants to provoke her, why don't I help her? In this way, I can see a more real Yi Rou. Did you see it? Fong Yin asked. I saw it. Lu Chaoga put the medicine box and the medicine box on a coffee table. What did you see? Miss Yi is simpler than Miss Phoenix. Lu Chaoga said. Fong Yin smiled and said, Didn't you say you don't understand? Miss Yi is quiet and serious, which makes people feel that she is cold and arrogant and keeps people thousands of miles away. This kind of first impression is not good. Lu Chaoga explained. On the contrary, Miss Phoenix is warm and generous. Although she is extremely arrogant, she is good at making topics, which makes people feel like a spring breeze when they get along with her. There's also a trace of joy in your heart. You feel that even such a charming woman is willing to be friends with you, and you feel respected and loved. In this case, shouldn't you like Phoenix more? I don't hate Phoenix because she lives a heavy life. A dancing phoenix wearing shackles, no matter how beautiful she is, can't fly to the Chinese parasol tree. But I like Miss Yi more. Why? Fong Yin sat up straight and looked at Lu Chaoga with some doubt. To be honest, Yi Rou's relationship with others had always been very bad. Whether in the Jianghu or the Jianghu, as long as they were familiar with her, they would eventually fall in love with Phoenix. She was too cold, too arrogant, too strong, and too violent. It would be strange if such a person had friends. Therefore, Yi Rou had always been excluded from various circles since she was a child. Fong Yin, Bai Xiao, and other friends of Phoenix Bailey Lu often went up the mountain to catch birds, went into the water to catch fish, went skiing on the ice, and fought sharks in the sea, but Yi Ro was never there. Everyone had heard of Yi Ro. Everyone knew about Yi Ro, but no one had ever asked them to play with Yi Ro. Of course, the person who hated Yi Ro the most at that time was Fang Yin, because he was the most direct victim. Young people cared about their reputation, especially those who thought they were good at fighting. If anyone dared to scold them or spit on them, they would fight with their lives. Yi Ro often beat him up like a dog, and he would go to Phoenix for help with all his wounds. There was even a long time when Fang Yin stubbornly blamed the failure of his first love on Yi Ro, because no woman would like an idiot who was always beaten black and blue and couldn't get out of bed. Today, he heard someone say good things about Yi Ro, which really surprised Fang Yin. Because how bad can a woman who doesn't even know how to express her love be? Lu Chaoga said, I can't see Phoenix clearly, but I can see Miss Yi clearly. She likes you. Fang Yin was stunned. Lu Chaoga sighed softly and said, Don't pretend you don't know. Lu Chaoga took the medicine box to the kitchen and then went to the yard to clean up the broken branches and tiles. A tile pricked her finger and bright red blood flowed out. She took out a Band-Aid from her wallet in her pocket and put it on her finger. She could take good care of herself. This was a habit she had developed when she was very young, and she didn't want to show her wound to others easily. She liked Yi Ro more, and she felt that Yi Ro was the same kind of person as her. Because of the serious injury, Fang Yin asked for a few days of sick leave from school. Zhang Xiaofeng, the principal of the school, came. After seeing Fang Yin's injury, he sighed and said that since he had a cold, he should take a good rest and not worry about the 9th class. He would find an experienced teacher to take care of him for a few days. Li Mingqiang, the director of education, and Zhu Jian, the deputy director, also came. Li Mingqiang cursed Fang Yin as soon as he saw him. Then he asked if he had applied medicine, and there was still half a bottle of golden chrysalis muscle nourishing powder at home. Fang Yin hurriedly said no. Zhu Jian was an honest person. He asked in a low voice what happened to Fang Yin's injury, if he had quarreled with his girlfriend, and when he would take his sister-in-law to dinner. Because of Fang Yin's special status in the school, almost all the middle and senior leaders of the school came during his days off. Huang Haoran, Tang Cheng, and Suing also came. They came to visit Mr. Fang on behalf of the students of the 9th class. What's more, he came with several fruits in his hands. Huang Haoran deserved to be the son of a journalist. As soon as he saw Fang Yin, he exclaimed and said, Mr. Fang, Director Li said that you had a cold and had to ask for a few days off. Why was your face beaten like this? Who beat you? Did you call the police? Tang Cheng smiled and said, I know the reason, but I won't say it. Suing glared at Tang Cheng angrily and said, Tang Cheng, you're so annoying. It's fine if you don't know, but if you know, you won't share it with us. What kind of classmate are you? Tang Cheng looked at Su Ying and said, It's not that I don't want to say it, but Mr. Fang definitely doesn't want me to say it. Mr. Fang, don't you think so? Fang Yin was extremely angry. If his body had not recovered, he would have jumped up and beaten this guy. For his behavior, there was only one word to describe it. He deserved to be beaten. Fang Yin asked about the situation in the class. Huang Haoran said that Zhang Yu, the language teacher of the first class, would be in charge of the language class for the time being. Fang Yin could understand such an arrangement. Since Fang Yin and Zhang Yu won the bet last time, the first class and the 9th class had almost become natural enemies. The school wanted the students to compete with each other, but they didn't want them to be hostile to each other. Therefore, it was necessary to let Zhang Yu go over and ease the relationship with the students of the 9th class. Fang Yin had never thought that Zhang Yu was his natural rival. He told Huang Haoran and the others to cooperate with Mr. Zhang Yu's work and not let Zhang Yu be embarrassed in the 9th class. Huang Haoran nodded and agreed. He listened to Fang Yin. Suing looked at Fang Yin with a smile and said, Mr. Fang, you don't dare to go to the classroom because of the injury on your face, do you? In fact, it's completely unnecessary. Even if you are disfigured in my heart, you are still the most handsome language teacher in the world. An idea came to Fang Yin's mind, and he said, Suing, I have something to trouble you with. I have a document to write, but I don't have the energy now. The handwriting of Fang Yingying and Fang Haoan is too ugly. Can you help me write it? Huang Haoren was full of displeasure when he heard this. He said very actively, Mr. Fong, what do you want to write? I can help you write it. My handwriting is much better than Su Ying's. Fong Yin trembled with anger and said, girls are more careful. It's better for Su Ying to write it. Chapter 284. Fong Yin took a pen and paper and handed it to Su Ying. He said, write an application. Application for the Excellent Teacher of the Year. I'll read it and you write it. Okay. Su Ying agreed readily. It was rare for Mr. Fong to ask his students to do something, which was something to be proud of. Application. Dear school leader, I'm Fong Yin, a language teacher in class 9, grade 1. My name may be a little strange to you, but when it comes to what I've done, Su Ying's handwriting was small and graceful, which looked like her. However, it was not the handwriting that Fong Yin was looking for. Fong Yin looked at Su Ying and said, Su Ying, you're amazing. I didn't expect your handwriting to be so beautiful. I don't believe that you can write such beautiful handwriting with your left hand. Write with your other hand. Su Ying looked up at Fong Yin helplessly and said, Mr. Fong, why do I feel that you're up to no good? Are you looking for a criminal suspect or a girl who wrote you a love letter? Huang Haoren and Tang Xing also looked at Fong Yin suspiciously. They felt that Fong Yin's request was really strange. Fong Yin smiled awkwardly and waved his hand. How could that be? How could there be a criminal suspect? Who would write me a love letter? Don't make wild guesses. I just want to see if Su Ying's handwriting looks good with her left hand. Su Ying still wrote a few words with her left hand according to Fong Yin's request. It seemed that she was not used to it, and her handwriting was very poor. Fong Yin dispelled his doubts about Su Ying and said, forget it. I'll write with my right hand. During his sick leave, Fong Yin was not idle. He had been thinking about the changes of the heart of Tai Chi on Sword Peak. He knew that the reason why the Tai Chi heart could sense the outside world was because of the existence of Qi. Every object had a vital energy or vitality. As long as they breathed, had a temperature, or swayed with the wind, the heart of Taiji would be able to picture them in his mind. However, from pictograms to lines, was this a sublimation or a regression? Fong Yin crooked his finger at Fong Yingying and said, Hero, punch me. Fong Yingying shook his head and said with a smile, Junior Martial Uncle, this is not good, right? You are my most respected and beloved martial uncle. How could I hit you? If I tell you to hit him, then hit him. Stop talking nonsense. Should we ask Fong Haohen, if you don't do it, I'll hit you. Fong Yingying had no choice but to punch Fong Yan's head. Bang! Fong Yingying's body flew backward, rolling around in the yard like a meaty ball. He struggled to get up from the ground, clutching his stomach and crying, I knew it, I knew it. Junior Martial Uncle, you are biased. Why do you always hit me, but not Fong Haohen? Fong Yin sighed softly and said, Fong Haohen is too thin. I don't have the heart to hit him. Through this practice, Fong Yin found that his defensive ability had been strengthened again. In the past, when he was defending, he would take the initiative. When danger came, he would sense it and start to defend and counterattack. Fong Yingxiong hadn't sensed any danger yet, but he had already sent the enemy flying. Of course, it was mainly because Fong Yingxiong was too weak. If the enemy was an expert like Qianya, it would be more troublesome. However, Fong Yin was not in a hurry to verify it. His body was still very weak, and his damaged body had not been fully recovered. If he challenged the Qianya of the army or an expert at the same level as him at this time, he would probably die. The happiest thing during this time was Xia Tian's return. When she came back, she also brought her production team and the two little girls, Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin. Jiang Qin was a little thinner than when she left, and Yuan Lin was a little fatter than when she left. Jiang Qin saw the wounds on Fong Yan's face, and tears were about to flow out. She gritted her teeth with red eyes and said, Mr. Fong, who beat you like this? I'm going to beat him to death. Fong Yin looked at the little girl, who was waving her fists and shouting to avenge him, and said, You don't have to do it. I beat him up even worse. Yuan Lin pinched Jiang Qin's face and said teasingly, Mr. Fong's skills are so good. Who can beat him? Then I'm going to beat him up, Jiang Qin said angrily. Why did he beat me up? In the eyes of girls, anyone who beat Mr. Fong must not be a good person. You can't beat him. Let me do this kind of thing. Fong Yin kindly advised. If Jiang Qin went to challenge the Qinya of the army, the enemy would probably throw her away with a flick of his sleeve. I'll apply medicine for you, Jiang Qin said. No need. Fong Yin refused. Why? Because I just applied it half an hour ago, Fong Yin said. Then what can I do for you? After not seeing each other for a long time, the little girl really wanted to show off in front of Fong Yin. Are you thirsty? I'll make you a cup of tea. Oh, you're drinking tea. Xia Kiki sat at the side and looked at her two disciples with a smile. She looked at Fong Yin and said, It's good to be young. You can do what you want without fear. When you said that, you weren't that old, right? Fong Yin said with a smile. Xia brushed the hair in front of her forehead and said, Can you compare with them? It's so tender that water can be wrung out. If you let me wring it, I can wring out water from you. Fong Yin said, My hands are strong. Xia was angry and said angrily, Fong Yin, do you know how to chat? Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin giggled at the side. Fong Yin said helplessly, I know why you brought them here. Look at my face, it's like this. Can I be in the picture? He ran over without saying hello in the summer, and he even brought Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin along. Naturally, he wanted to catch him off guard. She was already in Huacheng. Could Fong Yin still be cruel enough to refuse? What I want is your kung fu. Your face can hit mosaic. Xia said. Xia's classical album hoped to have a song with Tai Chi as the background, so she chose Fong Yin to be the male lead in the story. However, if it was just a male lead, it would not be impressive enough, so she helped him find two female disciples who also played Tai Chi. The red sun rose, and the morning mist had not dispersed. On the edge of the lonely cliff, Fong Yin, dressed in white, was playing Tai Chi absent-mindedly. The wind was blowing Fong Yin's clothes up. Behind him were two young girls in white, Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin. They breathed and waved with Fong Yin's breath. Fong Yin was quiet, they were quiet. Fong Yin moved, they also moved. Such a music video must be beautiful and intoxicating. Anyway, Fong Yin already felt that he was about to die. He looked at Xia and said seriously, You must show your face. When Sister Li was washing clothes by the patio in the yard, she suddenly heard someone shouting, Mom. Sister Li thought that she was hallucinating. Since Jiang Qin left, she could often hear her daughter standing at the door of the small courtyard shouting, Mom, I'm back. She shook her head and sighed, saying, If I had known, I wouldn't have sent the child so far away. What's the point of being a star? Isn't it 100 times better to be by her side? I have to call my dear again later. I don't know if it will delay her practice. Mom, I'm back. A soft body suddenly hugged her from behind and said happily. Annie Lee was shocked. Then she realized that her precious daughter was really back. She quickly turned around and held Jiang Qin in her arms, wiping her tears and said, Dear, you're really back. I thought I heard wrong. Mom, I'm really back. Jiang Qin was also crying. She was still young, and this was the first time she had gone far from home. Although she had her teacher's care and Xia's care, she still had to deal with a lot of things alone. Moreover, she really missed her father and mother. It's good that you're back. You won't leave this time, right? Sister Li held her daughter and looked at her with a smile. Your face is thinner, your chin is sharper, and your bones are stronger. Are you not used to the food in Yinjing? Of course it's not as good as Mom's food. Jiang Qin said flatteringly. You haven't answered Mom's question. You won't leave this time? Sister Li asked stubbornly. Why do you want to be a star? What's so good about being a star? Mom doesn't beg you to be a star. You just stay by Mom's side and live happily every day. Mom will be satisfied. If you like to study, then study. If you don't like to study, then just mess around. If you can't find a job after graduation, your dad will kill pigs and your mom will set up a stall to make money to support you. Mom and Dad won't feel tired. Mom, Jiang Qin said embarrassedly. I came back this time to participate in the shooting. Mr. Fong and Sister Xia are also here. As soon as Sister Li turned around, she saw Fang Yin and Xia Xia standing at the gate of the courtyard, looking at the mother and daughter with a smile. Sister Li quickly let go of Jiang Qin and washed her hands in the wash basin again. She wiped her hands on her clothes and quickly ran towards Xia Xia. Fang Yin was shocked. In his prediction, a fierce hand-to-hand fight was about to begin. With Sister Li's position, Xia Xia was no match at all. Annie Li could sit there for 2 summers. Fang Yin couldn't help but take a step forward, blocking half of Xia Xia's body. Sister Li rushed to Xia Xia's side, grabbed her little hand and shook it hard. She said, "Miss Xia Xia, thank you. You are the benefactor of our Jiang family. If you didn't give me this opportunity, how could I go to Yinjing to learn from such a famous teacher? Every time I call my dear, she talks about you. She says that you have helped her a lot. As a parent, I don't know what to say. Miss Xia Xia won't leave tonight, right? You must eat at home." Sister Li turned to Jiang Qin and shouted, "Dear, call your dad and tell him to leave a pig's hind leg." Fang Yin, who was standing in front of Xia Ji, had completely turned into transparent air. He secretly retracted the hand he had just extended and put it back into his pocket. Sometimes it was lucky that no one paid attention to you. Chapter 285. Jiang Dehai was an honest person. At night, he packed up the stall and went home with a pig's hind leg. Sister Li displayed her cooking skills to the fullest and made a table full of dishes. Xia Chun repeatedly stopped her, saying that she couldn't eat that much. Annie Li laughed and said that it didn't matter, since Teacher Fang Yin was also here, and Teacher Fang Yin had a good appetite. Fang Yin could only nod and tell Xia Chun that he really could eat, so don't refuse Sister Li's kindness. When eating, Jiang Dehai took a bottle of West Phoenix old wine from the wine cabinet. Fang Yin looked at the age. This wine had been collected by him for nearly 30 years. Jiang Dehai opened the bottle cap, and the fragrance of wine filled the air. He smiled honestly and said, "Everyone, drink a little." So he poured a cup for Xia Chun, a cup for Fang Yin, a cup for Sister Li, and a cup for himself. Jiang Qin handed over the cup in front of him and said pitifully, "Dad, this wine is so fragrant. Pour me some too." Jiang Dehai capped the bottle and said, "Children are not allowed to drink." "Dad, I'm not a child anymore," Jiang Qin said coquettishly. Jiang Dehai looked at his daughter and laughed. His love for her was indescribable. Jiang Dehai stood up and took the initiative to raise his cup. He said sincerely with a serious expression, "Thank you, Miss Xia. Thank you, Teacher Fang Yin. I have no ability as a father. I can only kill pigs. My daughter Jiang Qin, please take care of her." After that, he raised his head and drank up the wine in the cup. Fang Yin had known Jiang Dehai for half a year. Jiang Dehai gave people the impression that he was kind, honest, and a good man. He rarely spoke and always looked at his wife and children with a smile. He had never seen him blush with anyone. It was the first time for Fang Yin to see Jiang Dehai so formal, and the first time for him to stand up and drink so boldly. For his daughter, he did what a father could do, just like millions of other parents. Xia Chen also stood up, raised her neck, and drank up the wine in the cup. The smell of wine was strong, and her face immediately appeared a bright red. She looked at Jiang Dehai and said solemnly, "Mr. Jiang, your daughter, Jiang Qin, is a very talented child. It is precisely because of her talent that I hope that she can learn music and learn classical instruments. The path that she has taken is one that no one has taken before. Even I have the will, but I do not have the ability. So, I hope she can succeed. I have high hopes for her. I believe that it won't be long before you'll be shocked by your daughter's talent and feel proud of having such a daughter. Of course, even now, she's still the most outstanding and sensible daughter you have." Jiang Dehai smiled like a Maitreya Buddha. He was also a little embarrassed as he said, "When Jiang Qin was in primary school, she once came back and told me that her classmates called her the butcher's daughter. I didn't have the ability, so I could only be a butcher. But I don't want others to see Jiang Qin call her a butcher's daughter." "That won't happen," Xia Chen comforted. "People will call her Teacher Jiang in the future." "Thank you." Sister Li's eyes were red. Thank you, Miss Xia. I'll drink to you too. Jiang Dehai raised his glass to Fang Yin and said, Fang Yin, why haven't you come to eat at home for so long? Fang Yin smiled and said, I'm too busy with work. If Uncle Jiang wants to find someone to drink with, you can call me anytime. The two clinked their glasses and drank the wine at the same time. Fang Yin knew that Jiang Dehai would not know about his conversation with Sister Li. After eating and drinking to his heart's content, he refused Sister Li's fruit feast and left Jiang Qin at home to accompany his parents. Fang Yin sent Xia Qin back to her hotel. Winter had arrived, and the chill was getting deeper. Most of the pedestrians on the street wore sweaters or thick coats, scarves, and hats to protect themselves from the cold. Winter in Yinjing was from the outside to the inside. The wind was howling, and the ice was hitting one's face. All one needed was an extra coat to resist it. Winter in Huacheng was from the inside to the outside. First, one's bones would feel cold, and then the body would feel cold. It was impossible to guard against. Therefore, Xia Chun, who was wearing a black cotton dress and brown leather boots, still felt the hostility of Huacheng towards her. The only pity was that it rarely snowed in Huacheng, no matter how cold it was. For Fang Yin, a winter without snow was an imperfect winter. He liked snow. He liked the holy and clean feeling of the whole world being covered in ice and snow. Cold? Fang Yin asked with a smile. Cold. Xia Chun wrapped her woolen coat tightly and straightened the sunglasses on the bridge of her nose. She said, Huacheng is colder than Yinjing. I'm cold too. Fang Yin said, let's take a taxi back. Xia Chun looked at Fang Yin with a smile and said, do you really want to send me away? Do you think it's new? If other men had the chance to walk with the national goddess in the summer, they would be willing to run naked, right? If you really ran naked, I wouldn't want to. How many people would be staring at you? Fang Yin reached out to stop a taxi and said, you don't like me, and I've never thought of hitting on you. We don't have to pretend to be ambiguous. Fang Yin opened the door and said to the taxi driver, Master, Hilton Jianxiao Hotel. Xia Chun looked at Fang Yin and said, aren't we friends? Of course. Fang Yin said, friends go back to their own homes after the meal. Xia Chun giggled and said, all right, then we'll be friends. She bent down and got into the car. She waved at Fang Yin and said, good night. Remember what you promised me. I'll see you at Xiaxia Mountain. The first time Xia Chun came into contact with Fang Yin was at Xiaxia Mountain. The first time she saw Fang Yin practicing Tai Chi was also at Xiaxia Mountain. Therefore, she stubbornly chose to shoot her music video at Xiaxia Mountain. Xia Chen's team had already discussed with the person in charge of the Xiaxia Mountain Scenic Management Area. Only a fool wouldn't be able to advertise their scenic area for free. When the taxi was far away, Fang Yin turned to look at the green belt behind him and said in a cold voice, come out, don't be sneaky like your master. A middle-aged man walked out from behind the billboard and stood in front of Fang Yin. He said in a vicious voice, found them. Fang Yin looked at him and said, you better not hate me, because you can't beat me at all. You've worked so hard to kill me, but it's easy for me to kill you. The man's fist clenched, but he quickly relaxed. Too lazy to look at the middle-aged man's pained expression, Fang Yin directly ordered, bring the car here. The middle-aged man waved his hand. A black Audi slowly drove in front of Fang Yin. Fang Yin opened the door and sat in the back seat. The middle-aged man also sat in the front passenger seat. Fang Yin closed his eyes and rested. The car quickly moved. It was heading towards the goal that it had set. Caesar Winery. This was a grape import and export company located in the suburbs of Huacheng. Barrels of wine were shipped from France or other European and American countries by sea. They were packaged at Caesar Winery and sold all over the country. Naturally, there was no lack of wine in the winery. Therefore, the guests of the winery could naturally enjoy it whenever and wherever they wanted. Following an extremely licentious moan, the room finally returned to silence. A long-haired woman got up from the bed, randomly picked up a man's shirt and put it on. Her snow-white thighs were exposed in the air, exuding a seductive scent. She went to the wine cabinet and poured 2 glasses of red wine. She gave one to the man on the bed, took a sip of the other, and said, I have a bad feeling about this. Is it because I'm not good enough? The man leaned against the headboard, revealing his thick chest and inverted triangular pectoral muscles. In some ways, he was very confident. "No, you're doing very well," the woman said. "That's the best compliment for a man," the man smiled and said. "You're also very good, the most charming woman I've ever seen. I'm starting to like you a bit, do we deserve it?" The woman sneered. "That's true. He might live today, but he might die tomorrow. He might be alive now, but he might be dead in the next second. So, what do you mean like or not like? It's too extravagant." The man shrugged and said self-deprecatingly. He drank the red wine in the glass and said, "What did you just say?" "Just now, my ears were twitching. I had a premonition of danger." "Our lives will be in danger," the woman said. The man grinned and said, "The famous prostitute Flower can also be afraid. If this gets back to the organization, I'm afraid the other flowers will laugh at us." The woman sneered and said, "Afraid? To live is to atone for sins, and to die is to rest. For such as we are, death is the ultimate happiness. What's there to be afraid of?" This is a woman's sense of crisis. "When I feel danger coming, I always have this feeling. I think we've been exposed, everyone has faith, and as an assassin, their faith is their intuition. This intuition has saved their lives many times, allowing them to escape from death countless times." The man understood this truth, suddenly lifted the quilt and jumped out of the bed, saying, "At least the prostitute Flower hasn't made a mistake in this respect. Inform the others. We'll evacuate immediately. This place is no longer safe. I say, even if you're in a hurry to leave, shouldn't you at least put on your pants?" Fong Yin squatted by the window and looked at them. "I'm embarrassed to look at you with your buttocks naked like this." His mouth said he was embarrassed, but his eyes were really embarrassed. "This woman's body is really good. The man's body, what were you looking at?" Chapter 286. Those who did great things did not bother about trifles. Even if they were in great trouble, they would not care about the little things. Four-lipped Flower and her partner, Wasp, meeting Fong Yin at this time was undoubtedly a great disaster. Assassins always took the initiative to go out and kill people. How could they let the assassination target wander into their lair? Lipped Flower looked at Fong Yin, who was squatting on the windowsill, and said with a smile, "A distinguished guest should come through the front door. It's not a gentleman's behavior to lie on the window and eavesdrop. If you have such a need, I don't mind being your husband for one night, seeing that you are handsome and good at martial arts. Is there a need to be so sneaky?" Fong Yin was really angry with her and said angrily, "Do you think I lack women? I'm not bragging, but whether it's a mature sister or a campus goddess, whether it's my first love or a wild girlfriend, as long as I crook my finger," Lipped Flower sneered and asked, "And then? You crook your finger and they will do what?" "It's none of your business," Fong Yin said angrily. He was a little depressed because they were all gone. It had nothing to do with him. Wasp lifted the quilt to cover her naked lower body and said, "Mr. Fong, I've heard a lot about you, but I didn't expect to meet you on such an occasion. It's really awkward. What's there to be embarrassed about? What's wrong with meeting and chatting openly?" Fong Yin did not feel anything wrong at all. He stared at the hand holding the quilt and said, "You'd better not move. If you move your hand, I'll break it." Wasp stopped her little movements behind the quilt and said with a smile, "I don't think you are interested in men's naked bodies. Why don't you let me get dressed, and we can sit down and drink tea and chat? Oh, if you like to drink, this place has the purest white wine in France. How about it? Do you want a glass?" Fong Yin jumped down from the windowsill. The strong smell of hormones in the room made him frown. He didn't like this smell, especially when it was made by someone else. Looking at Lipped Flower and Wasp, who were staring at him warily, he said, "Don't drink. I'm afraid you've poisoned the wine. I don't know who you are, but I know you're from an organization called the Arsenal. I've killed a lot of people from that organization, so unfortunately, you won't be the first pair. To be honest, I've always felt very wronged. I didn't provoke anyone, so why are you guys always staring at me? I went to the cafeteria for a meal and was attacked by your bombs. The first time I went back to my own company, I met your spy. When I was sparring with the Japanese god of swordsmanship at the Sword Peak to win glory for the country, you sent people flying over to bombard me with cannons. Do you have a conscience? Do you have any sense of propriety? Can't you have a little bit of national pride and patriotism? Fong Yin stared at the lipstick and said, I can see that you are a senior member of your organization, right? Tell me, who sent you to kill me? Who's the mastermind behind this? Lipped Flower's face was full of sarcasm as he said, Since you know we're from the Arsenal, how can you be so stupid as to think you can get the secrets you want from us? Why do you think we're the kind of people who are easy to talk to? I'm just asking out of habit. I didn't think you'd answer. Fong Yan's mood was very stable, and his expression was very calm. If not, how can I stall for time? Wasp was startled and shouted, What did you do? His eyes swept around, but he didn't find any enemy. The more he did this, the more nervous he became. The enemy that he couldn't see was the most terrifying. Fong Yin squinted his eyes and smiled. I came a little early, and I'm really not interested in your bed affairs. I originally wanted to wait until you were done before coming in, but you guys didn't stop. I thought I had nothing to do, so I blew a kind of powder that my little Marshall nephew got from somewhere into the room. Seeing Wasp and Lipped Flower immediately held their breath, Fong Yin waved his hand and said, Don't be nervous, because it's useless to be nervous. What you should have inhaled has already been inhaled. This kind of powder is silent and odorless, and it's also suppressed by the smell of your hormones. It would be strange if you could detect it. Try to raise your strength and see if your body has any reaction. Lipped Flower and Wasp immediately secretly gathered their strength and found that their fists were soft. If they fought with Fong Yin in this state, they would be killed with a slap. Do you feel that you can't raise your strength? That's right. My little Marshall nephew told me that this powder is called bone-melting powder. If the amount is enough, it can even melt bones. I was afraid that you would find something strange, so I didn't dare to use that much. So I just dispersed a little of your excess strength. After hearing what I said, shouldn't you be a little nicer to me? Fong Yin asked with a smile. What are you trying to do? Wasp shouted coldly. As he spoke, Fong Yin had already lunged at him. He punched him in the chest, and when Wasp's body flew backward, he grabbed his arm and pulled him back. Fong Yin reached out and grabbed Wasp's neck and twisted it hard. Crack! Wasp's head drooped, and when Fong Yin let go, his body collapsed to the ground. Fong Yin picked up a silver light bullet from Wasp's hand, weighed it in his hand, and said to Lipped Flower, To tell you the truth, after dealing with you a lot, I'm very afraid of this kind of thing. Why didn't you do it? Because I've seen you do it, Lipped Flower said. In Chaoyan's Underground Research Institute, if I didn't have a substitute, I would have already died in your hands. Even if I wasn't poisoned, I wouldn't be a match for you. Not to mention now that my body is weak, I have no chance at all. Wasp didn't see you do it, so he died. Smart people can always live longer, Fong Yin said admiringly. But why should I keep you alive? You're a tight-lipped person. I can't get any answers from your mouth. Fong Yin stuffed the silver bullet in a Lipped Flower's mouth and said, Tell me, what should I do with you? Lipped Flower's face was pale, and she looked at Fong Yin in horror. Because her mouth was stuffed, her words were a little unclear. Since you can find this place, then you must know we're not your real target. Fong Yin nodded and said, Of course. Fong Yin chopped Lipped Flower's neck with his palm. After her body fainted on the bed, he pressed the red button on the silver bullet. He didn't have any mercy towards the members of the armory, because they were no longer people, but a group of man-eating devils. When Fong Yin closed the door of the room, there was a loud bang inside the room. Fong Yin could imagine the huge power of the silver bullet when it exploded. He had been close to it several times. Never again. At 1 o'clock in the morning, if it wasn't a shipping day, few vehicles would come to the winery at this time. However, tonight was an exception. The door of the winery was opened, and then a black Mercedes-Benz slowly drove in. The car stopped at the door of the small building, and the man in black in the passenger seat quickly got out of the car and ran over to open the rear door. A young man got out of the car. Lu Qingming looked up at the dark winery and said, Open the door. The middle-aged bodyguard nodded and took out a magnetic card from his pocket. He swiped it in front of the electronic door lock, and the door of the small building opened automatically. Lu Qingming took the lead and walked in, and the bodyguard in black followed him into the house. Clang! The door of the small building closed automatically. Turn on the light, Lu Qingming said. Pa! The light was turned on. The house was suddenly brightly lit, and it was as bright as day. Unfortunately, it wasn't opened by the bodyguard in black. He stood beside Lu Qingming and didn't even have time to do anything. There were two people sitting on the sofa in the living room. Lu Qingming never thought he would see these two people. Lu Qingming quickly turned around, and there was already a group of men in black standing behind him, blocking their way. Fang Yin looked at Lu Qingming, who was standing there with a gloomy expression, and said with a smile, I know you are very surprised as to why I am sitting here. In fact, I'm also very surprised. After all, you are a person who knows how to disguise yourself. It's really not easy to catch your tail. Fang Yin patted the shoulder of the man sitting beside him and said with a smile, Thanks to your big brother. If he didn't arrange people around you to know your whereabouts and provide me with the place where you met the people from the arsenal, I'm afraid our meeting would have to be delayed for a long time. Lu Qingming stared viciously at the man sitting beside Fang Yin. He panted heavily and roared angrily like a wounded beast. Why? Why'd you do this? The man reached out and took off the wolf mask on his face. His ugly face became more and more shocking under the light. He calmly looked at Lu Qingming, whose face was full of disbelief, and said, You are really too naive. How can you represent the Lu family to protect the interests of the Lu family like this? I know that you have always wanted to replace my position and have always wanted to become one of the 4 prodigies of watching. But, my good brother, do you really think you can sit in that position steadily? Jiang's Alilan Valley is full of people who eat people without spitting out their bones. Even I have to be very careful when dealing with them. Why are you so arrogant to think that you can play with all the heroes in the world? Chapter 287. The people who understand you the most are not only your enemies, but also the people around you. Although the willow tree's status in the family was greatly reduced due to his disfigurement, it was still very easy to arrange a confidant by Lu Qingming's side. It was also because of the willow tree's cooperation that they were able to find traces of contact between Lu Qingming and the people from the armory. It was also because of the willow tree's selfless help that Fang Yin was able to find the hiding place of the armory killers. Without the willow tree's help, Lu Qingming wouldn't have come to this place at this time. Therefore, the people who can hurt you the most are not only your enemies, but also your family. The latter is impossible to guard against. Lu Qingming didn't expect to meet the willow tree here. His emotions still couldn't completely calm down. He stared at the willow tree with a gloomy face and said, Childish? Yes, in your heart, I'm always so childish. You always look down on me and always treat me as an idiot. Am I an idiot? Of course not. How am I worse than you? How am I worse than you? If you didn't have a good father, how could you always be able to stand in front of me in every situation? Do you think you can hide your sinister side by being crazy all day long? Do you think you're humiliating yourself by playing with a few women? Lover of the masses, do you know that every time I hear people call you that, I sneer in my heart? Who is the real childish one? Yes, I've always wanted to replace you. I've always wanted to become one of the new 4 prodigies of watching. I've never hidden my thoughts. You were stabbed by Lu Chaoga, and your face was cut by Fang Yin. I'm very happy to hear these things. I know my chance has come. The Lu family can't let a loser and a disfigured person stand on the stage. If they choose again, I'm the most suitable candidate. Lu Qingming looked at the willow tree and said, If you were me, would your thoughts be different from mine? When the opportunity comes, wouldn't you reach out and grab it? Same. The willow tree said frankly, Maybe my thoughts are a bit more extreme than yours. I'll even pray at night before I sleep, praying that you will never stand up again and lie on the wheelchair like a waste for the rest of your life. I didn't cut your face, and you being cheated has nothing to do with me. Lu Qingming said unwillingly, Why do you hate me so much? I don't hate you, said the willow tree. I don't hate you at all. I still think of you as my younger brother. Little brother? The little brother that you betrayed? Lu Qingming sneered. He had waited for so long. He had purposely raised his voice, but until now, not a single member of the armory had rushed over to help. He knew that they were all dead. When he saw Fong Yin and Lu Shu sitting on the sofa in the living room, he knew that they were dead. If they weren't dead, how would Fong Yin and Lu Shu dare to sit on the sofa in the armory? The armory was an assassin company that researched gunpowder and all sorts of genetic weapons. Were they not afraid of being blasted into ashes? Previously, it was just a suspicion. Now, he could finally confirm it. The willow tree stood up. He walked towards Lu Qingming step by step. His walking posture was very ugly, swaying from side to side like an old duck with an injured left leg. The middle-aged bodyguard took a step forward and stood in front of Lu Qingming. That was his only protection. The willow tree waved his hand and signaled the middle-aged bodyguard to go away. "Uncle Ming, get out of the way," Lu Qingming said. "If he wants to kill me, you can't stop him." The middle-aged bodyguard's face was full of unwillingness, but he could only step aside and let the willow tree pass. The willow tree stood in front of Lu Qingming and looked at his handsome facial features that were controlled by anger. He smiled and said, "From childhood to adulthood, there are so many brothers in the family, and the two of us have the best relationship. To be honest, I don't like you, and you just said that you hate me very much. However, we are the two best people in the Lu family. At least we all think so. Therefore, we must live together intimately so that the elders have enough confidence in us. How can a person who can't even unite his brothers and family become the heir of the family? I have always thought that I am the heir of the Lu family. At least, others also think so. Therefore, I want to maintain the demeanor of an heir, and I want to unite all the forces around me that could be united. However, when I found out that you were doing the same thing as me, I began to dislike you from the bottom of my heart. Now, do you know why I said that you're stupid? Because you exposed your ambition too early. If you were in your position, what should you do? You should be hostile to me. You should be my enemy everywhere. And, at the right time, you should stab me with a knife. This is what you should do. This is the attitude that an unwilling competitor should have. I know that there are broad-minded people in this world, but I also know that that person is definitely not you. I don't hate you. The willow tree looked at Lu Qingming and said, I don't have any reason to hate you, because you're the same as me, a poor climber. When I climbed halfway up the mountain, I accidentally fell down. Although it wasn't to the extent of being smashed to pieces, I was riddled with scars. You are my heir. You climbed up the road that I walked, but you were dragged down by me who was unwilling. You are also a poor person. Why should I hate you? If you don't hate me, why would you join hands with Fong Yin to deal with me? If you don't hate me, why would you betray me like this? Lu Qingming pointed at Fong Yin, who was sitting on the sofa, and said, Did you forget how he hurt you? Did you forget how he humiliated you? He scratched your face, broke your legs, threw you down the stairs. If it wasn't hatred, then what reason would make you join hands with him to deal with me? Did you forget what I said just now? Both of us are climbers, but the top of the mountain can only accommodate one person. Therefore, we both have to do everything possible to kick our opponents down the mountain. Just like how you secretly ordered the people in the arsenal to assassinate Fong Yin, but deliberately led the clues to me. Don't you also hope that Fong Yin will treat me as his mortal enemy, and then the two of us will fight, and I will be completely eliminated by him. That way, no one will stand in front of you anymore, right? Yes, you did a good job, and Fong Yin did put the focus of suspicion on me. However, have you ever thought that there's a fatal flaw in your plan? That flaw is me. You want to tell everyone that this matter was done by me, and Fong Yin also suspects that I did it, but I know that I didn't do it. I have nothing to do with the arsenal. In this way, you will easily be exposed. Moreover, you thought that even if I guess the truth, there is nothing I can do because Fong Yin and I are mortal enemies. No matter what, I will not run to Fong Yin and tell him that this matter wasn't done by me. Lu Qingming sneered and said, In the end, I underestimated your shamelessness and cowardice. I really didn't think that you would run to cooperate with Fong Yin. Anyone who has suffered such humiliation and injury would not do such a thing in the face of their enemy, right? So, this is where you are inferior to me. Lu Shu said, A real man knows when to yield and when to stand tall. Yesterday's enemy becomes today's friend. This is something that happens every day in the business world. Why do you find it hard to understand? What I find hard to understand is that you would cooperate with a person like Fong Yin. Lu Qingming said, Fong Yin is as cunning as a wolf dog. Aren't you afraid that he will dig a hole to bury you? You worked hard, but it was all for naught. Doesn't it sound very sad? Why can't I cooperate with a person like Fong Yin? Lu Shu asked with a smile. If I cooperate with Fong Yin, I can get what I want. We are mortal enemies, but we can advance and retreat together. If I cooperate with him, he will help me regain the position of the Lu family successor. If I cooperate with you, will you give this position to me? Obviously, this is impossible, because only the two of us are the most direct competitors. So, it will be very difficult for me to leave the winery today. Lu Qingming asked aloud, but his eyes were looking at Fong Yin, who was sitting on the sofa and listening to the conversation between the two brothers with a smile. He knew that the decision-maker here today was that man. His brother, Lu Shu, was only a receptionist. Fong Yin picked up a cotton swab from the table and picked his ear, then said, Don't ask me about this kind of thing. I'm not interested in other people's family business. But I'm a narrow-minded person. No matter who hurts me, they won't be able to laugh it off. Lu Shu reached out his hand, lightly patted Lu Qingming's shoulder, then said, You've led the Lu family to the wrong path. You even naively thought that you've allied with the Jiang family and the Gu family. Don't you know that you have to listen to the opposite of what they say? They call you brother on the table, then turn around and stomp you to the ground. Their words can't be trusted. They aren't good people. I need a chance. The Lu family also needs to make a new choice. All sacrifices are worth it. Lu Shu stretched out his arms and embraced Lu Qingming. He gently patted Lu Qingming's shoulder and said, Thank you, my good brother. Lu Shu's actions were very kind, and his voice was very gentle. It was like an older brother comforting his injured little brother. Their feelings were so sincere. Their hug was so touching. No matter who saw them, they would think that this was a pair of brothers who had a very good relationship. Lu Qingming's head softly rested on Lu Shu's shoulder. His eyes were wide open, and blood was flowing from the corner of his mouth. He had a lot of unwillingness, but even more than that, he felt pain in his heart. There was a shining knife stuck in his chest. Chapter 288. There are many dark and damp corners in this world. If your heart is in full bloom, the darkness will always exist in places you can't see. Lu Qingming died. He died in the hands of his brother. That sharp knife stopped in a very good position, piercing his heart. Lu Qingming's body was lying on the shoulder of the willow tree, his face full of unwillingness and disbelief. But who was willing to listen to his grievances and complaints? You madman, you can even kill your own brother. Uncle Ming pointed at the willow tree and roared. He was an elder of the Lu family, responsible for protecting Lu Qingming for many years. It wasn't that he hadn't heard of brothers being castrated, but when he saw it with his own eyes, he still found it hard to accept. The willow tree expressionlessly looked at Uncle Ming, his eyes full of sadness. Uncle Ming, you don't understand. When a person has to force himself, betray morality and his own heart, that kind of state of mind really makes people uncomfortable. He waved his hand, and a man in black behind him rushed straight towards Uncle Ming. Uncle Ming didn't have time to say another word, and he was already fighting with the man in black. The willow tree picked up Lu Qingming and walked step by step towards the sofa. He put Lu Qingming's body, or rather, corpse, on the sofa, and then sat next to Fong Yin. Fong Yin sat on the far left, and Lu Qingming sat on the far right. He sat in the middle of the two. This way, from a distance, it looked like three men sitting side by side, watching a wonderful play in the living room. Fong Yin glanced at Lu Qingming and helplessly said, Don't be like this, okay? You're making me very uncomfortable. You killed your cousin, which proves the fact that you're a scumbag and a beast. Now that he's dead, what's the meaning of carrying him to the sofa? This can't atone for your sins, and it also adds another charge of being a hypocrite. At least that's what I think in my heart. I'm a bad person, but not a beast. Bad people also feel guilty. It's just that you don't want to believe it. The willow tree said. He felt guilty, so he gave Lu Qingming the least amount of respect. When he was sitting, he didn't allow Lu Qingming to lie on the ground. At any time, he could be trampled by the two guys who were fighting. So what if I feel guilty? Saying sorry while stabbing me? If I meet such a bad guy, I'll just kill him with one slap. Fang Yin said coldly. He turned to look at the willow tree and smiled amiably again, saying, Of course, you are an exception. Who is Lu Qingming? He was the person in charge of an evil organization like the Arsenal. He had repeatedly dispatched killers to assassinate innocent people and harm teachers. Do you have any idea what you just did? You're the hero of the people, getting rid of evil for the people. At least, you're my hero. Fang Yin patted Lu Shu's shoulder and said, Not everyone can put righteousness before family. People who could do this were definitely not good people. My condolences. The willow tree said nothing. He knew that Fang Yin was mocking him, and he also knew that when he stabbed his brother to death, Fang Yin's guard against him immediately rose by hundreds or even thousands of levels. He even knew that if he didn't do it, Fang Yin would personally kill Lu Qingming. Since Fang Yin knew that he was colluding with the Arsenal, he would certainly not let him walk out of this winery alive. However, this matter had to be done by him. Fang Yin would also force him to do it. This was a bargaining chip for cooperation. If he wanted to gain Fang Yin's trust and make them close, he had to do this. There was no other candidate, only his brother. Not everyone's sacrifice was meaningful, and not everyone was qualified to sacrifice for a great ideal and goal. Most people died in vain. Fang Yin was a considerate man. He didn't entangle with Lu Shu on this issue. That would be like cutting the flesh on someone else's chest and then sprinkling salt. He looked at the man in black in the middle of the living room and said, Is he Chun Pu's disciple? Chun Pu was Lu Shu's cart pusher. In order to protect Lu Shu at the Blue Mountain Club, his bones were crushed by Fang Yin. He never thought that that night would be an opportunity. It was an opportunity for his master and Fang Yin to come into contact. It was unknown whether it was a hint from a sentence or a look, but the two of them actually came together and teamed up to plot against Lu Qingming, who was insufferably arrogant at the Blue Mountain Club at that time. It wasn't easy for fools to survive in this world. He's called Wang Dong. Chun Pu was destroyed, so I recommended him to work by my side. He knows that master was destroyed by you, so he always wanted to find you for revenge. Lu Shu said, I don't have anyone I can use right now. Leave him to me. Fang Yin nodded with a smile and said, I can see the hatred in his eyes. However, I won't kill him just because he looked at me angrily. I can't do such a thing. Of course, you'd better greet him. Don't think about plotting against me. I only need to find out about this once, and I'll have enough reasons to get rid of him. He's not stupid. He should know what to choose. Lu Shu said, If he wants to die, then it's fine if we don't cherish him. Bang! Wang Dong punched Uncle Ming's chest. When Uncle Ming's lower body was unstable and he was pushed back, Wang Dong pounced on him and wrapped his arms around his neck. Crack! Uncle Ming's body softly fell to the ground, and he didn't move anymore. Lu Qingming was dead, and Uncle Ming was also dead. There was no evidence in this matter, so Lu Shu had enough space to act. Fang Yin stood up and said, What a sin. My body is stained with so much killing intent. I need to go back and take a bath. The door opened and closed, and Fang Yan's figure quickly disappeared. Wang Dong walked to Lu Shu's side and said unhappily, You're letting him go just like that? So what? Lu Shu raised his head and asked, Keep him here? He knows too many of our secrets. I'm afraid he'll betray young master. I also want to keep him here. Lu Shu sighed softly. Even if all of your corpses were piled in front of him, he still wouldn't stay. You don't know how terrifying he is. Lu Shu put on the wolf mask on the sofa and said in a low voice, I know. Grandma was cooking in the kitchen. Grandma went to the market to buy hairy crabs and all kinds of precious seafood because her grandson and Lu Chaoga had come. Of course, it was mainly because of Lu Chaoga. Lu Chaoga didn't have the image of a headmistress or a strong woman with billions of assets. She wore an apron around her neck and rolled up her sleeves to personally prepare the ingredients. Fong Yin was called to the study by Grandpa. Whenever Grandpa called Fong Yin to the study for a talk, it wouldn't be anything good. Therefore, Fong Yin was already mentally prepared. As expected, Grandpa Qin Wang scolded him as soon as he entered the room. "What have you been doing recently? You're not teaching properly, and you're always on leave. What kind of behavior is this? This is a serious dereliction of duty. Do you know how many days of leave you've taken this semester? Do you know how many days of classes you've had in a month? When I first introduced you to Rosefinch to teach, it wasn't for you to be lazy and slack off. A teacher should be with his students and pass on his knowledge to them. The students don't see you all day. How can they be influenced by you? How can they learn from you? If I were still the headmaster of Rosefinch, I would have fired an incompetent teacher like you long ago. And what's with the bruises on your face? You're a good school teacher and a high-level intellectual. Why do you walk around the campus with a bruised face all day? Do you know what a bad example your behavior is giving to the students? Even a teacher gets into a fight with someone. Grandpa, I accidentally bumped? How did you end up like this? The scratches on your face were also caused by the collision? Show me one on the spot. If you can do it, I'll go against my conscience and believe your nonsense." Qin Wang was furious. He wanted to press this kid to the ground and smash his head with the inkstone on the table. A good high school teacher going out to fight and kill all day. How uncivilized is that? Fong Yin stood there awkwardly. He tried his best to squeeze out a smile and said, "Grandpa, don't be angry. I just said a joke to liven up the atmosphere. The bruises on my face are from someone beating me up, but I didn't lose out. I still beat him in the end." Seeing that Qin Wang was about to explode again, Fong Yin hurriedly explained, "The one who challenged me was an East Asian. He's a famous East Asian swordsman. People call him the East Asian sword god. Civil officials aren't greedy, and military generals don't care about death. He can definitely win the respect of all the countries in the world. I like literature, so I became a teacher and impart my knowledge to others. I practice martial arts, so I need to defend against foreign enemies and accept challenges. Grandpa said that I lacked spirit last time. I've seriously thought about this problem, and I also feel that I lack spirit. A man can't stand without a soul. My words are my promise, and my soul is that I will never back down. I hope I can live, and there's a high chance that I will die. However, as long as I have a breath left in me, I will never let them take a step forward or win a battle. I want to smash their arrogance. I want to smash their confidence and ambition. I want to break their faces and break their teeth so that they can't be a wolf that eats meat, but a dog that eats shit. This is my ideal. This is my spirit." Lu Gong was stunned on the spot. He stared at his young grandson for a long time before he finally reached out and patted him on the shoulder. He said, "Your words are crude, but your logic is not." Chapter 289. Seeing Lu Gong take Fong Yin upstairs, her grandmother poked Lu Chaoga, who was processing the crabs, and said in a low voice, "Chaoga, go upstairs and have a look." Lu Chaoga looked at her grandmother in confusion and asked, "Grandma, what should I look at?" Her grandmother looked worried and said angrily, "The old man has been working in education all his life. He's retired for so many years, but he still can't change his bad habit of scolding people. He had always hoped that Fong Yin could be engaged in education or academic research. In the end, Fong Yin wholeheartedly went to learn Tai Chi from the Fong family. This matter had almost become a sore point for the old man. Several times when he went to bed at night, he sighed and said that a good seedling had been ruined. Yesterday, Headmaster Zhang Xiaofeng came to visit, and the old man asked about Fong Yan's work. Headmaster Zhang said that Fong Yin hadn't been in good health recently and had asked for sick leave. The old man was scared and was going to take me to see Fong Yin. But today, I saw the boy's face full of injuries. What kind of illness could it be? He must have had a fight with someone again. The old man was so angry that he dragged Fong Yin upstairs to the study to teach him a lesson. The old lady glanced at the second floor and said, "The old man has a habit of scolding people in the study. A few years ago, he scolded Fong Yin so much that he didn't dare to step through our door. Go and have a look. Tell them to go downstairs for dinner." Even if the old man was angry, he could only hold it in when he saw you. He praised you a lot at home, saying that you were the best educator he had ever seen. In the end, he also went into business. Lu Chaoga really couldn't imagine how Fong Yin looked when he was scolded, with his sharp tongue. Who could take advantage of him? However, only an unyielding elder like Lu Gong could make him respect and fear him, right? Lu Chaoga took off her apron and walked upstairs quickly. Since her grandmother was worried, she would go over to help. Before Lu Chaoga could reach the door of the study, she heard Fong Yan's impassioned voice. Who do they think they are? A sword god from a few small islands dares to come to our great country of Huaxia to challenge us? To be honest, if it weren't for the fact that he was older than me, I wouldn't have fought him at all. It would be embarrassing. If I go, it would be a waste of my talents. If I send Fong Yingying and Fong Haoan, they would be more than enough to defeat him. They have the god of swords. We have the god of despicable. It's a perfect match. But I didn't do that. Why? I have to respect the old and cherish the young. It's all thanks to Grandpa's good education. Otherwise, how could he have the chance to spar with me? Lu Gong's face darkened again. He said, I saw that you said a few good words just now, but after a while, you're talking nonsense. I have done some research on the Japanese. They're extremely selfish and proud, but they're also very hardworking. If the person who challenged you didn't have any ability, how could he become the sword god that they worship? He's number one in the Japanese, but in our country, he's nothing, Fong Yin said stubbornly. Anyway, he didn't have any friendship with the Chiba army, so he didn't have any psychological burden to belittle him. Think about it. If he's really that powerful, why can't he beat me? Lu Gong thought about it seriously and said, whether it's learning or practicing martial arts, you can't be arrogant and complacent. I've never seen anyone who could reach the end of learning Hai Wuya. Grandpa, you're right. That's what I'm thinking. Fong Yin quickly agreed. After coming back this time, I also realized that I'm not good enough. Although I've been resting at home on sick leave for the past few days, I've never forgotten to read. I've read all the Chinese papers for the past few years. This year's final exam, Class 9 should be able to get a good result. That's because the children of Class 9 are working hard, Lu Gong said. He looked at the scars on Fong Yan's face and said with concern, work isn't in a hurry. You should rest when it's time for you to rest. Strike a balance between work and rest. I can't rest without being with the students, Fong Yin said with a sigh. Lu Xiaoga looked at this warm and affectionate scene and felt as if his heart was in a mess. Wasn't grandmother's worry too unnecessary? Lu Gong saw Lu Xiaoga standing at the door and showed a rare smile on his face. Xiaoga, what's up? Grandma asked me to invite you downstairs for dinner, Lu Xiaoga said. Lu Gong nodded and said, I'll go downstairs now. After that, he walked out of the study first. Fong Yin walked to Lu Xiaoga's side and asked with a smile, Grandma is worried I'll be scolded by Grandpa, right? Seems like Grandma still doesn't know you well enough, Lu Xiaoga said. The more you go through, the more experience you have, Fong Yin said with a smile. Lu Xiaoga looked at Fong Yin and said, I've accepted Lon Mountain Valley's conditions. That's your problem, Fong Yin said. He rarely got involved in Xiaoyan's matters, but Fong Yin was the one who initiated the cooperation with Lon Mountain Valley. With Lu Shu as a spy and Lon Mountain Valley as a pawn, if the other families wanted to take advantage of them, they would have to go through these two hurdles first. That's Xiaoyan's problem, Lu Xiaoga said. Fong Yin waved his hand and said, let's go downstairs for dinner. Dinner isn't ready yet. Zhangxia Mountain, the mountain where the clouds fall. In winter, Zhangxia Mountain was a bit lonely. The mountain wind howled and the dried leaves fluttered, but it also had a different feeling to it. Jiangqin and Yuan Lin were a bit excited to be back at Zhangxia Mountain. Jiangqin pointed at a cliff and said, Mr. Fong saved us from there. If it weren't for Mr. Fong, those bad guys would definitely still be chasing us. I wonder what happened to them in the end. Bad guys naturally have to be punished, Zhang Dekai said with a smile. He was the righteous police officer who helped deal with the 3 scammers last time. This summer, he brought a crew to Zhangxia Mountain to film. so he led the team to guard the place. We won't let them off just because they're of different nationalities. Jiang Qin smiled sweetly and said, "Thank you, Uncle Zhang." Zhang Dekai waved his hand and said, "This is what we should do." The music video director was called Song Gu, a very influential figure in the film industry. He had filmed for many big names both at home and abroad. Everyone respectfully called him Brother Song. Brother Song found it hard to understand the importance xia placed on Fong Yin. If the top star in the country wanted to find a Tai Chi master to film a music video, shouldn't those Tai Chi masters rush up crying and hugging his thighs? If they could get even a little bit of a relationship with xia, wouldn't they be famous? Once they entered the scene, they wouldn't have to worry about food and clothing for the rest of their lives. Everyone knew this very well. In order to take care of this Fong Yin, Xia actually brought the whole group to Huaqing to film. Didn't she know that the trip, food, and accommodation for such a large group of people would require a lot of money? Brother Song's main dissatisfaction with Fong Yin was that he didn't receive enough respect. For a famous director like him, the actors he needed should have traveled all the way to meet him. How could he let him move to Huaqing? He thought that Fong Yin was more famous than him, which made him feel that they didn't treat him as a famous person in Xia. The staff were setting the scene. Brother Song pulled Fong Yin aside and told him about the things he needed to pay attention to during the shooting. He said, "You have no shooting experience before, and you don't know any shooting techniques. So I don't expect you to cater to my camera. Just do what you're most familiar with. The focus of this music video is on you. You just need to do Tai Chi well and show the essence of our Tai Chi culture. Do you understand? Don't be flashy, just show the essence. You have to make people feel cool, gorgeous, and beautiful at first glance." Fong Yin patiently waited for him to finish and said, "Director Song, the essence of Tai Chi is not cool and gorgeous, but the deep meaning it shows when yin and yang blend. It is in line with the way of heaven, the way of humanity, and the way of nature. From these simple movements, you can get great relief and freedom." Brother Song was angry and said angrily, "Are you the director, or am I the director? Do you understand the language of the camera? Do you know what it means to present in front of the camera? As long as I point the camera at you, you have to give me the best posture and the most attractive movements. You stand there like a mummy. Who wants to look at you?" Fong Yin smiled bitterly and said, "Director Song, you still have some misunderstandings about Tai Chi. Song Gu waved her hand impatiently and said, "It's not that I have a misunderstanding about Tai Chi, it's that you don't understand our director and the camera at all." Okay, you don't have to say anymore." Song Gu walked up to Xia Ji, who was putting on makeup, and said, "Xia Ji, I want to discuss something with you. This actor is not good. I don't think he is suitable to be the male lead of our music video. I know you love this song, and I also know how important this music video is to you. In any case, we can't let this kind of idiot ruin all our efforts." Xiaoji waved his hand and signaled the makeup artist to stop for a while. He looked at Song Gu with a gentle and serious look and said with a smile, "I think he is very intelligent and has a very deep understanding of Tai Chi teacher Song. Can't you let him try it? I think that when you really see him play Tai Chi, you will have a new understanding of him. Summer, this is your work, and it is also my work. I hope there are no flaws in our work. Don't you want a Tai Chi master? Leave this matter to me. I will make a call, and there will be dozens of Tai Chi masters for us to use." Song Gu said stubbornly, "We have to change this person." Xiaoji looked at Song Gu and said, "Okay, then let's change people." Song Gu was overjoyed and said, "Xiaoji, you agree? I will tell him to get out of here and call someone. Don't think that we can only eat pigs with hair after Butcher Zhang died. Change the director," Xiaoji said to the assistant beside him. Chapter 290. The smile on Song Ji's face froze before he could retract it. Replacement? It's not the actors, but the director? Song Gu was about to cry. He knew that his feeling was right. They didn't treat him as a big shot at all. They didn't respect him. If they cared a little about his feelings, they would follow his words and replace that bullsh asterisk T Tai Chi master. A big shot should have a big shot's temper. He wanted to throw out some harsh words and leave. But he suddenly remembered that there were all kinds of hidden rumors about Summer's identity in the circle. He couldn't say those harsh words no matter what. What was worse was that he couldn't flick the sleeves of his tight leather clothes. No one could stay if he wanted to, and he didn't dare to leave if he wanted to. He stood there in a dilemma, his face extremely embarrassed. What was the relationship between this gigolo and Summer? She hadn't seen Summer get close to any man for so many years. The only one who was close to her, Feng Yuansheng, seemed to be very depressed recently. Did this gigolo catch her eye? Sangha was a little regretful. Women were irrational when they fell in love. Why should she make things difficult for her lover? Summer's assistant was Zhang Wei. Because he had a good relationship with Feng Yuansheng, he thought that Feng Yuansheng would be able to win the beauty in the end. He didn't expect to bet on the wrong treasure. Feng Yuansheng was kicked thousands of miles away by Summer. He was worried that his relationship with Summer would become estranged, so he had been trying to make up for it recently. It was not auspicious to change the director on the spot. When he heard that Summer wanted to change the director on the spot, he wanted to persuade her, but he was worried that it would make her angry. Because he had been with Summer for many years, he knew that as long as Summer decided on something, few people could change it. He hesitated, but Fang Yin tried to persuade him, "It's not that serious. I think Director Song still has some misunderstandings about me, and Tai Chi, if I fight on the spot for him to see, he will have a new understanding of us. If it doesn't work, it won't be too late to change the director at that time." Fang Yin spoke, and Zhang Wei quickly echoed, "Mr. Fang is right." Sensei Song looks at Taiji from the perspective of the camera, while Sensei Fang looks at the problem from the perspective of the depth of Taiji. It's just that everyone's focus is different. We just need to find a common point, which is to be able to show the self-restraint of Taiji and also be able to look good on the camera. Isn't this what we need? Xia Xia looked at Song with a smile on his face and asked, "Teacher Song, what do you say?" "Then let him try," Song said. He thought to himself that they still needed him. It was easy to find actors, but not so easy to find a good director. Seeing is believing. I hope he doesn't disappoint. Xia Xia looked at Fang Yin and said, "You go through it first, and let the two little girls remember the routine." "No problem," Fang Yin said. Fang Yin walked to the edge of the cliff and stood in the form of a plum blossom stake. As for the staff behind him who asked in a low voice why they had to walk to the edge of the cliff to play Tai Chi, no one was willing to answer such a stupid question, because no one except Fang Yin knew the answer to this question. Fang Yin took a deep breath and then gently tapped the tip of his right foot. His movement was gentle and comfortable, like an arc. Every movement of his was careful, as if he was afraid that his palm would scatter the wind and the soles of his feet would hurt the grass. However, as time went by, his movements gradually accelerated. This kind of acceleration was gradual and would not make you feel abrupt or unnatural. His body was like an arc, like an iron bow, or like a curved willow. He was like a white ape that absorbed the chi of heaven and earth, like insects, fish, flowers, and plants. He was one with everything in the world. Every time he turned around, his body seemed to fall into the abyss. This made everyone enjoy this extreme beauty with their hearts in their throats. However, their worries were superfluous, because no matter how Fang Yin drew a circle or turned around, he stood there as steady as a 1,000-year-old pine tree. Not the slightest bit off, not the slightest bit off. The setting sun was like an egg yolk, revealing a little shy face in the thick white fog. Seeing the commotion over here, a small bird with colorful feathers also flew over and peeked its head out to observe. It was still chirping, looking adorable and cheerful. Fang Yin jumped, and the bird was caught in the palm of his hand. He stretched out his arms and imitated the bird's undulating wings. He knew that as long as he used this stunt, there would be female fans at the scene fainting. The bird stood in the palm of his hand. The bird accumulated strength, and Fang Yin released it. The bird lost its strength, and Fang Yin used the power of Tai Chi to lift it up. The bird became nervous, and its chirping became louder. However, when it found that it was not in any danger, and the game was fun, it began to enjoy it. When Fang Yin released his strength, it jumped with all its might. When Fang Yin gathered his strength, it landed steadily. It even turned around and chirped at Fong Yin, telling him to hurry up. You bastard. The man and the bird were having a lot of fun. On the distant mountain ridge, a monk and a Taoist smiled as they evaluated each other. What do you think of this child? The old monk asked. Angry because of the momentum. His momentum is like a rainbow. This child actually has the momentum of indistinguishable yin and yang, the middle-aged Taoist said with an expression of admiration. The universe goes from Wuji to Tai Chi, the process of all things being born. With all things being, there is the sky above our heads and the earth below our feet. The Tao of the world uses the two energies of yin and yang to create all things. Heaven and earth, the sun and moon, thunder and lightning, wind and rain, the four seasons as well as male and female, firm and soft, movement and stillness, all things being born from yin and yang, the old monk's expression was solemn. However, everyone knows that it is precisely because all things have yin and yang. That's why Tai Chi emphasizes the fusion of yin and yang. Extreme yin gives birth to yang. Extreme yang gives birth to yin. This child is amazing. At such a young age, he can see mountains as mountains and water as water. Even this bird sees him as one of its kind. The heart of Tai Chi has truly become one with all things. The middle-aged Taoist nodded and said, "Then should we teach him the Tai Chi diagram?" The old monk shook his head and said, "The Tai Chi diagram is very important. Not only is it a treasure of your Taoism, but it also protects our Hua Xia's dragon soul. Be careful, be cautious. Other than the foundation of martial arts, the quality of one's temperament is even more important." Looking at his appearance and behavior, this child doesn't seem to be an evil person. Furthermore, how could someone who possesses the heart of Tai Chi be bad? Let's see. Fong Yan's body rose into the air again. He personally sent the bird into the sky. Then, he lightly patted the bird's head, indicating that it could leave. When Fong Yan landed, the bird actually swooped down again and stood on his shoulder, unwilling to leave. It chirped at Fong Yan's face, as if it wanted to talk to him. Everyone on the scene was dumbfounded. Jiangxin was so excited that he couldn't control himself. He grabbed Yuan Lin's hand and said, "Yuan Lin, did you see that? Did you see that? Mr. Fong is really amazing." Yuan Lin didn't feel any pain. Her eyes were shining as she stared at Fong Yan and said, "That bird is so cute." Summer was also intoxicated for a moment, but she quickly regained her sobriety. She was engaged in art, so she had no resistance to beautiful things. When Fong Yan played with the bird, it really made people's hearts tremble. It was so beautiful. That's amazing. This person's Tai Chi is so beautiful. Oh my God, I've never seen anyone play Tai Chi like that. Is this really Tai Chi? He jumped so high just now. Is there a steel wire hanging on his body? I really want to become that bird. Then I can play with him. When the staff saw this incredible scene, they all became Fong Yan's die-hard fans. The Tai Chi that Fong Yan presented was the Tai Chi that they had never seen before. It was the most beautiful and ideal Tai Chi in their minds. Song Ge was also stunned. "Master, this was a real Tai Chi master. How could there be such a Tai Chi? How could there be such a cool Tai Chi?" No, this could no longer be described as cool, but how could a cultured person be so pretentious? You clearly knew that he was pretending, but you still felt that this guy was really awesome. Song Ge kicked the leg of the cameraman next to her and shouted, "Did you take a picture? Did you take a picture just now?" The cameraman didn't have time to take off the cover of the camera lens. He said aggrievedly, "Director, didn't you say to take a look first? Look my ass. Look my ass." Song Ge kicked the cameraman's leg again and again. "Why aren't you afraid? Why aren't you afraid? What else do you want to shoot if not such a scene? I'm so angry, you idiots." Song Ge ran in front of Xiaji and said with a flushed face, "Xiaji, let's not change the person. It's him. It's him. He's a master. He can definitely give us the feeling we want. Yes, it's him. No one else can do it." "Did I pass?" Fong Yin asked with a smile. "Yes," Song Ge said. "You don't want to change the person?" Fong Yin asked again. "No." Song Ge waved her hand and said, "Well, Brother Fong, I was a little biased against you just now. Don't be angry. That thing is over. Let's not take it to heart. What do you think? I'm not a stingy man. How can I take such a small thing to heart? Fang Yin said. That's great. Let's start. Start what? Fang Yin asked. He turned to look at Xiaji and said, My Tai Chi has been recognized by everyone. Now we can change the director. Song Gu sat on the ground, so angry that her whole body was trembling. In the forest behind the crew, the middle-aged Taoist priest said to the old monk with an embarrassed face, Let's watch again. Let's watch again. The old monk laughed. Chapter 291. You insult me once, and then apologize to me. It's not fair at all. You insult me once, and I'll insult you once. That's fair. Teacher Fang Huahua values fairness the most. Song Gu got up from the ground, stared at Fang Yin fiercely, and said, Do you want to play with me? Isn't your entertainment circle too dark? Fang Yin said angrily. You dare to make such a rude request to me in public? Fang Yin looked at Xia Ji with a strange look, as if saying, The noble circle is really messy. Xia Ji looked at Song Gu and said, Teacher Song, is there no problem in confirming the candidate? No problem. Song Gu dared to be ruthless to Fang Yin, but did not dare to say a harsh word to Xia Ji. He and Fang Yin did not have a subordinate relationship. Fang Yin was a school teacher, and it would not affect his life. He said a harsh word to Xia Ji, and Xia Ji was only angry for a while. However, if Xia Ji said a harsh word to him, he would have bad luck for the rest of his life, and he was afraid that his career would end early. Then be more attentive. Xia Ji said, Let go of some unnecessary prejudice, and you will find that Teacher Fang Yin is a very easy person to get along with. I will. Song Gu gritted her teeth and said, She thought, Is this guy really an easy person to get along with? He went around in such a big circle just to slap you in the face. How could such a narrow-minded person be called easy to get along with? Song Gu walked in front of Fang Yin, took the initiative to reach out, and said, Mr. Fang, please give me a lot of advice. You're welcome. Fang Yin held Song Ji's hand and said, I don't understand camera language, so I have to trouble Director Song to make me look as handsome as possible. Mr. Fang is an idol. Director Song is flattering me. Ha! I'm quite popular with students at school. Xia Ji and many staff members looked at them with black lines on their faces. Everyone discussed for a while. Song Gu once again explained some shooting details, and the MV shooting officially began. The shooting this time was mainly divided into two parts. The first part was Fang Yin practicing Tai Chi alone to show the rigidity of Tai Chi. The other part was Xia Xia bringing Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin, the two little beauties, to perform the softness of Tai Chi in black Tai Chi clothes. Two different scenes, maybe even two different space-time. Fang Yin's white clothes fluttered in the wind. He looked like an ancient Taiji youth. The scene of Tai Chi with Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin would constantly switch, but it was a modern Tai Chi then. Hardness and gentleness complemented each other, and the four of them began to fuse. Fang Yin stood at the edge of the cliff, the dragon head. Xia Xia, Jiang Qin, and Yuan Lin followed behind him and did the same thing. Their movements were neat, and the scene was beautiful. Because it was already late when the crew went up the mountain, they first shot some scenes of Fang Yin practicing Tai Chi at the edge of the cliff in a mountain breeze and white fog. Then, using the same scene, Xia Xia took Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin up and also did a round of Tai Chi. Xia Xia originally had a good foundation in Tai Chi, but it didn't have any actual combat effect. It was only for strengthening the body. Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin were still very unfamiliar with Tai Chi. They just felt that Fang Yin was handsome and good-looking. In the past 2 days, Fang Yin gave them some simple training. They only needed to follow behind Xia Xia, or Fang Yin. Simply put, the two of them were two little flower vases in the MV. Everyone only needed to think that the two of them were good-looking. In the evening, the crew members settled in the Xia Hotel, which was the only quasi-5-star hotel on Xia Mountain. Last time, Fang Yin brought his students up the mountain for the night, but he didn't bring them to stay in such a hotel. Some students had strong self-esteem, so he had to carefully protect them. After dinner, Fong Yin and Xia Xia drank tea and chatted in the Tingfeng tea house of the hotel. The Xia Hotel was built against a mountain, and the Tingfeng tea house was on the edge of the cliff. Sitting in the tea house and drinking tea, the dark Grand Canyon came into view. In autumn, the valley was full of red maple leaves, which made people feel relaxed and happy. But in winter, when there were no stars or moon in the sky, only the whistling of the wind could be heard. That was how the Tingfeng tea house got its name. Fong Yin was busy making tea. The golden pu'er tea soup was very tempting. He said, "Do you want to replace Songge?" Xia Xia's eyes stayed on the hand that Fong Yin was using to make tea. He felt that the posture of Fong Yin making tea was very beautiful and skillful. She liked Huaxia culture and tea, but no matter how expensive the tea house was, how famous the tea made by the tea artist, she always felt that there was a lack of taste. Immortal taste. Yes, it was immortal taste. Pure heart and few desires, neither fast nor slow. No flattery, no filth. This was immortal taste. Unfortunately, few people could do it. I knew Songge 10 years ago, and all my music videos were made by him. At that time, he was just a very talented young man. Xia Xia explained softly. Later on, as his fame grew, people's nature also changed. Now he is the kind of person I don't like the most. If I don't stand up for you, he will insist on replacing you and then use his own people. Xia Xia looked at Fong Yin and said, "I can tolerate people around me making some small mistakes in the field of life, but I will never allow them to criticize my work. This is my work." He wanted to try to control you, so he used me as an experiment. In the end, you slapped him back. Fong Yin said with a smile, "This slap is fierce enough." "I don't slap people," Xia Xia said. "If he still doesn't know how to restrain himself, then cut off his hands and feet. Isn't this too domineering?" Fong Yin's eyes widened. A scene appeared in his mind. Xia Xia, with disheveled hair, was holding a kitchen knife and chopping off Song Ji's hands and feet. Then he stood there and laughed, letting Songge lie on the ground and scream miserably. "What are you thinking?" Xia Xia said angrily. "I mean, cut off his career line. I can make him call the wind and rain, and I can also make it difficult for him to move an inch. Why does this sound like something said by a gang leader?" Xia Xia sighed softly and said, "You don't know the darkness and dirtiness of the entertainment circle." Fong Yin asked worriedly, "Will Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin be okay? If they can't resist the temptation, I can't do anything. But if someone wants to hurt them, I will cut off his hands and feet. This time I will really cut off his hands and feet." Xia Xia said coldly, "Those two little girls are quite lucky, with a big backer like you." Fong Yin said with a smile, "I'm not their backer. I'm their sister and friend. I want to take them with me to do something." Xia Xia said, "Women can also change the world, or rather, change the world's perception of us. I've always believed that. I also believe that." Fong Yin said, "A woman's greatest dream was to promote Huaxia culture to the world, not to watch other people's culture invade." Fong Yin felt that this kind of woman was as great as him. Fong Yin raised his teacup and said, "A toast to you." "For what?" "For our noble sentiments." Fong Yin said. Xia Xia laughed loudly and said, "Fong Yin, every time I chat with you, I'm very happy. But you can't like me. There are too many people who like me." Fong Yin said, "When there are so many people, I don't know how to choose. Who asked me to be a Libra? It's a bit too much. I won't go join the fun." Xia Xia said with a hint. Fong Yin laughed dryly and didn't speak. Some things were better not said. Xia Xia looked at the antique decorations in the tea house and said, "The owner of the tea house must be a very elegant person. It's not called the Stargazing Tea House. It's not called the Maple Appreciation Tea House. It's called the Wind Listening Tea House." In his heart, even listening to the wind is a romantic thing. Then stargazing and maple appreciation are naturally not inferior. From the low place to see the rolling clouds, from the wet place to see the ninth heaven thunder. This person is very kind. Fong Yin nodded and said, "It's just that the psychology of the nouveau riche is serious. Is there need to put so many precious wood and antiques all over the house? It's like he's afraid that others don't know he's rich." What's her said is very true. It's us who have fallen into the cliché. A middle-aged Taoist walked over with an incense burner and a smile. He walked to the table occupied by Fang Yin and Xia Xia and stopped. He put the incense burner on the table and said, "Honored guests have come to visit. I'll give you a pot of tree incense. Please don't refuse." Fang Yin took a sniff. It was authentic ambergris. Moreover, the quality was higher than the ambergris he collected, and the smell was also purer. Fang Yin stared at the middle-aged Taoist warily and said, "Who are you? Why did you give us tree incense? You didn't poison it, did you? Meeting by chance is also fate. Does Sir not believe in fate? Do you think I'm an idiot? Giving someone tens of thousands of yuan worth of ambergris incense when you meet by chance? Why didn't you give it to the two fatso in the corner? Why didn't you give it to the couple in the 30-degree position? Why did you give it to us? Sir and I are fated." Fang Yin interrupted the Taoist and pointed at Xia Xia. "You're not thinking of hitting on her, are you? I'm a monk. I don't get close to women. Then you want us to buy your amulet?" Fang Yin was extremely angry. "Every time I walk on the street, I'll meet monks wearing Taoist robes who pull me to buy amulets. They say that they're fated with me at first glance. Only a fool would believe that. Tell me, how much is your amulet worth? Seeing that you gave us tree incense, we're willing to be cheated by you this time. But let me make it clear in advance, I won't pay more than 100 yuan. The middle-aged Taoist's facial muscles twitched. His body swayed and looked like he was about to fall. Chapter 292. Tianjizi felt very strange. According to his cultivation, it was impossible for him to have such a hysterical state. Was he going to suffer a heavenly tribulation? However, it was not enough to suffer a heavenly tribulation. If the white-browed monk suffered a heavenly tribulation, how could he not be punished by the heavens? That was because he was angry. Angry. The word angry had not been in Tianjizi's emotional world for many years. He had been cultivating all his life, calm and peaceful, and his thoughts were clear. He did not fight for anything, and rarely had conflicts with others. There were very few things in this world that could touch his spirit mirror Tao heart. He cultivated and nourished qi, but the qi he cultivated and nourished was qi activity. It was the body's nutrition and energy, and it was the driving force for him to seek the Tao and finally break through the void. Qi could cut hair and wash marrow, strengthen the body, and make people achieve immortality. However, angry, he tried hard to think about it, but he really forgot when and why he was angry last time. Why could this young man make him so angry when he opened his mouth? After thinking about it, Tianjizi's eyes instantly lit up. Tao fate. Because they were fated, he was able to break through his own heart. Otherwise, so many people could not break through, but he could make him lose control of his emotions. Tianjizi looked at Fang Yin with even more scorching eyes, which startled Fang Yin. He said, "You are not here to flirt with her, and you are not here to sell talismans. You want to flirt with me?" The smile on Tianjizi's face instantly froze. His mouth slanted and his eyes protruded, and his body trembled even more violently. He was sure that he was going to suffer a heavenly tribulation. Otherwise, why did he feel like he was being struck by lightning? However, didn't the long-eyebrowed monk say that when he encountered the heavenly tribulation, he would experience 9 divine thunders? Why did he only experience 5? Was it because his cultivation was too low, or that monks were more unlucky than Taoists? Xiaji held back his laughter, kicked Fang Yin under the low table, looked at Tianjizi and said, "What can I do for you, Jinren?" Tianjizi chanted the lousy Qingyo incantation several times, and with great difficulty, he suppressed the murderous intent in his heart. He bowed to Xia Xia with one hand and said, "This humble Taoist feels that I have fate with this little friend, so I came here to have a chat." Tianjizi looked at Fang Yin and said, "I'm not a lecherous person, nor am I someone who sells talismans for profit. I just want to have a chat with you. I don't have any evil intentions, nor do I have any malicious intent." Fang Yin looked at Tianjizi doubtfully and asked, "What do you want to talk to me about?" Tai and Jeezy pointed to the chair next to the low table and said, "May I have a seat?" "Sit," Fong Yin said. He was a little curious about this Taoist priest. Tai and Jeezy sat down on the side of the low table, looked at Fong Yin, and asked, "Little friend, are you a martial artist?" "I know how to use Tai Chi," Fong Yin said. He looked at the Taoist priest's sitting posture and said, "From the outside, you don't seem to know any martial arts at all, but when you pulled out the chair, I felt a hidden movement in your chi, which made me wary. This chair is made of sour pear wood and weighs dozens of kilograms. You lifted it up as if you were grabbing a handful of cotton wool. It seems that you're also an expert." Xia Xia looked at the middle-aged Taoist priest doubtfully, thinking this is also a martial arts expert. These days, there are experts everywhere. In the blink of an eye, several of them have slipped away from under your nose. The Taoist priest took the tea that Xia Xia poured for him and said with a smile, "I can't be considered an expert. I just used decades of martial arts to train my strength." "Well said," Fong Yin sincerely praised. "In the future, if others say that I'm an expert, can you lend me that sentence?" Tai and Jeezy laughed and said, "You can take it. But I think that what you said just now, know how to use Tai Chi, is more effective. Experts who have the heart of Tai Chi, the number of Huaxias and Nuda can be counted on one's fingers. If this is only 2 hands of Tai Chi, what about the other practitioners?" Fong Yan's eyes became sharp and said, "You know me. I was lucky to be at the scene of the Battle of One Sword Peak." Tai and Jeezy looked into Fong Yan's eyes and said. Fong Yan was shocked and said, "I didn't feel your existence." Not only Fong Yan didn't feel it, but the Ministry of War also didn't feel it. Because at that time, the Ministry of War said that there were only 3 people present who could fight with him. After this battle, he must visit them one by one. Fong Yan learned from Lei Feng's good example and helped him point out who the 3 experts were, but this middle-aged Taoist priest was not included. Many people thought that only those who were good at fighting were real warriors. Of course, this was not wrong. However, being good at hiding was also a unique skill. The enemy was already at your door, but you still didn't know he was there. Just thinking about it made people's scalps tingle and their backs turn cold. "My little friend, don't panic," Tai and Jeezy said, waving his hand. "When I hide in the wind, I become the wind. When I hide in the forest, I become a tree, a flower, and a grass. When the wind comes, I move, and when insects come, I don't panic. They and I are one. My little friend, your heart of Tai Chi has reached a higher level, and even the birds are willing to play with you. Isn't it the same? There are 3,000 ways in the world, but in the end, they all lead to the same destination. There is no difference between you and me." Fong Yan's hostility toward this Taoist priest deepened. This old guy followed him to the One Sword Peak to watch the battle between him and the Ministry of War, and he also saw the scene of him playing with the birds today. Was he a stalker? Fong Yin looked at the Taoist priest and asked, "How should I address you?" "My Taoist name is Tainjizi," the middle-aged Taoist priest said. "Tainjizi, why do you always follow me? I was fighting with the Japanese sword god, and you followed me. I caught a bird to play with, and you also peeped behind my butt. What do you want? Now that you have come to me, you must be ready to lay your cards on the table, right? My little friend, you are very vigilant." Nonsense. 9 out of 10 Taoist priests these days are liars, and one is a bastard. He always grabs your hand and says that you will suffer a bloody disaster. There were several times when I wanted to make him suffer a bloody disaster. He sells talismans, and I only lose some money. You don't even sell talismans, which means that what you are after is bigger. Who knows what I will lose? Some things are not things to give, but things to gain. If you give, but if you don't give, how can you gain? Tai and Jeezy said, "My little friend, can you tell me why you learn martial arts?" "So that others can't bully me," Fong Yin said. After thinking for a while, he added, "When I want to bully others, I don't worry that they will hit me." "If that's the case, then why did you risk your life to accept the challenge from Chiba?" Tai and Jeezy asked with a smile. "From what I saw and thought, you didn't have any confidence that you could win against that Japanese swordsman, right? You didn't give even an inch because you were proud and hot-blooded. Am I right? He took the initiative to challenge me and bullied me. How could I cower and run away? The worst outcome will be death. If I died, thousands of Fong Yans would stand up and kill him. No matter what, I wouldn't suffer too much, Fong Yan said. Death is good. In order to uphold the dignity of a martial artist and protect the orthodox martial arts of Huaxia, you were willing to fight to the death with the Japanese sword god, even though you knew that you were not as strong as him. Just this alone makes you stand out among your peers. Actually, I thought of asking for help, but they didn't come. You are frank and direct, and you have the courage to admit to others that you are timid and cowardly. It's human nature to look for a solution when you encounter difficulties, but in the end, you relied on your own courage and ability to defeat your opponent. I'm not timid and cowardly for a moment. I have always been timid and cowardly. Not only do I have that kind of thought, but I also put it into action. If I invited someone over, it would be him fighting the Japanese sword god, and I would be eating melon seeds and chatting on the side. You are a chivalrous person. Why did you purposely make yourself look so bad? Tai and Jeezy looked at Fong Yin and asked, worried that people will criticize you and make fun of you? Fong Yin sighed softly and said, you are so shameless to praise me. Tell me, what do you want? Tai and Jeezy's expression was solemn, and his eyes were clear. His body was like a sleeping tiger or a coiled dragon, emitting a calm and peaceful aura. Ambergris smoke lingered in the air, and the faint fragrance was refreshing, making one's body completely relax and mind travel to the heavenly realm. This guy is good at showing off, Fong Yin thought. Tai and Jeezy looked at Fong Yin and said in a compassionate tone, the wind is strong, the tide is surging. The flood dragon totem, the fire phoenix nirvana, the dragon soul of Huaxia. The glory is inextinguishable. The spirit of martial arts, the sun and the moon shine together. Thieves and evildoers covet from all directions. We should rise up and fight against them, using our hearts to punish them. The ancient said, establish a heart for the heaven and earth, establish a life for the people, inherit the lost knowledge for the saints, and establish peace for the world. The revival of China and the protection of the dragon soul, we have no other responsibility. Fong Yin was stunned by these majestic words and said, what should I do? Do you know the Tai Chi diagram? Tai Chi diagram? Yes. Fong Yin nodded. It is said that it was passed down by the Song Dynasty Taoist Qin Tuan, and its original name is the Wuji diagram. According to historical records, Qin Tuan once passed down the pre-celestial diagram, Tai Chi diagram, river diagram, and Luo Shu to his student Zhong Fong, who in turn passed them down to Mu Xiu, Li Zhe, and others. Later, Mu Xiu passed down the Tai Chi diagram to Zhou Dunyi. The Tai Chi diagram we see now was passed down by Zhou Dunyi. I have one hanging on the wall in my room. I look at it several times a day. What's wrong? Tai and Jeezy smiled soundlessly and said, the painting of Tai Chi I am talking about is not the kind that can be bought on the street, but the real treasure of Taoism, the painting of Tai Chi, one of the 4 great books of Huaxia, along with the painting of the river, the book of Luo, and the innate painting. Fong Yin stared at Tai and Jeezy with his eyes wide open and asked, why are you telling me this? I want to choose a fated person to pass down the Tai Chi diagram to, and let him protect our dragon soul of Huaxia. Then go find him. Fong Yin said, why are you telling me this? Chapter 293. As an innocent bystander, Xia Xia was worried that Tian Jeezy might slap Fong Yin to death at any time. Xia Xia thought, if I were this Taoist priest, I would also slap Fong Yin to death. This is too much. Sure enough, Tian Jeezy raised his wrist. His palm kept shaking, but the tea in the cup didn't spill at all. Not only that, but the steam coming out of the cup suddenly disappeared. It was a strange scene. The steam was boiling a second ago, but in an instant, the smoke disappeared, the steam dispersed, and the hot water turned into cold water. Pa! Tian Jeezy slammed the cup on the table. The tea didn't break, but the sour pearwood table started to shake. Xia Xia was shocked and couldn't help leaning back. She was worried that Tai and Jeezy would not be able to hold back his anger and pour the tea in the cup on Fang Yan's face. In the end, she would be in trouble because the tea was so hot. She did not want to be disfigured. On second thought, she realized that masters should not pour tea on each other, pull each other's hair, and kick each other's balls. The tea was not cold, but frozen. Xia Xia touched it with her finger. It was real ice. Ovo. Xia Xia's eyes, which always gave people a sense of intellectual elegance, suddenly became like this. She couldn't accept and believe such a change. Was this magic? The golden pu tea had turned into golden ice cubes, sparkling and translucent under the illumination of the light. It looked very cute. Fang Yan was also shocked. He knew this Taoist priest was a master, but he didn't expect him to be a master of a master. Just by using the move, turning water into ice, it was already amazing. His internal strength cultivation could leave him several streets behind. Tianjizi closed his eyes and muttered something. His lips moved faster and faster, and then he suddenly let out a muffled roar. The shout was not loud, but it was extremely harsh. Xia Xia's face was pale, and Fang Yan's ears felt as if they were being pricked by needles. It was very uncomfortable. Not only did Xia Chun and Fang Yan suffer, but the other guests of the Tingfeng Tea House were also not spared. When they heard this shout, the faces of those who were discussing turned ugly. The eyes of those who were looking at each other were filled with fear, and the smiles on the faces of those who were chatting and laughing became stiff and ferocious, as if they were discussing how to chop someone up. They all felt as if they had been hit by something, but no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't find the weapon that had hurt them. They all thought it was a panic attack and were focused on doing their own things. However, they were startled by the sudden sound. Therefore, they all pointed at the middle-aged Taoist priest and cursed him. "Why are you shouting in the middle of the night? Don't you have any manners?" This was a more elegant way of scolding. "Old man, you must be tired of living. Do you believe that I won't slap you to death?" This was a more courageous way of cursing. To be honest, Fang Yan was quite looking forward to him coming over to slap the old guy. "Which dog is barking in public? Hurry up and bring it back. Don't run around." This was a curse that brought about one's own destruction. Fang Yan couldn't bear to look in the direction of where he was. Tianjizi paid no attention to the attacks and insults outside. He slowly opened his eyes, and his expression became bright and clear again. He had the demeanor of an expert. He looked at Fang Yan and said, "Buddhism pays attention to the fruit of suffering, and Taoism pays attention to fate. My young friend Fang Yan, you and I are fated. Otherwise, how could you repeatedly break my Taoist heart with just a few words? Although this curse came from my mouth, it started because of you. So, this resentment should also be placed on you." Xiaji helplessly looked at Tianjizi and said, "Spiritual master, Fang Yan also often breaks my peace." Xiaji had the most right to speak about this kind of thing. When she and Fang Yan met for the first time, all kinds of unpleasant things happened. Fang Yan had a kind heart, but he had a venomous tongue. Feng Yuancheng almost died of anger when he met him. "That's also because you were fated." Tianjizi pretended to be profound and said with the face of a charlatan, "If you're not fated, the world is so big and there are so many people. How can only the two of you sit in this Tingfeng tea house and drink tea and listen to the wind?" Xiaji's mouth slightly opened. She felt that what he said was so reasonable that she was actually speechless. Tianjizi's focus was on Fang Yan, so he once again put his gentle and kind eyes on Fang Yan's face and said in a clear voice, "If we are fated, we should cherish the fate. I and my young friend Fang Yan hit it off the moment we met, and I see that you have the heart of Tai Chi, but you are not arrogant and rash. You have a noble character and wisdom like the sea. Therefore, I think my young friend Fang Yan is the most suitable inheritor of the Tai Chi diagram." Fang Yan stared at Tianjizi and said, "You want to give the Tai Chi diagram to me? Not give, it's pass." Tianjizi corrected his words. "That was a treasure. Could it be given away? It can only be passed on. Look at what the ancients said. Carry on the sacred arts of the past. They used the word inherit. For free? For free. You just said that it is the treasure of your Taoism? Indeed. You also said that there's a dragon soul in it? To protect Hua Xia's dragon soul. Are you crazy? Fang Yin asked with a look of disbelief. Why don't you hide such a good thing for yourself and give it to an outsider like me? It's good to pass it on to your son and grandson. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know if you have been married and had children. It's also good to sell it. If it is really as mysterious as you said, it can definitely be sold for a good price. Tianjizi felt something flowing out of the corner of his mouth. He was too embarrassed to wipe it with his sleeve. He felt that it was too embarrassing. Was this the fated person he had chosen? What kind of F***king monster was this? Could such a person really inherit the Taoist culture and protect Hua Xia's dragon soul from being extinguished? Tianjizi reached out and grabbed the teacup that he had just slammed on the table. The coldness of his palm calmed the anger in his heart a little. He looked at Fang Yin with a serious face and said in a selfless manner, "That is the treasure of Hua Xia. It is shared by everyone in Hua Xia. How can I keep it for my own selfish reasons? Also, the Tai Chi painting can't be sold. We can't sell our totem and spirit." Fang Yan's face darkened. He said, "You mean that the Tai Chi painting can't be sold or passed on to my son and grandson?" "That's right," Tianjizi said firmly. This kind of thing was not negotiable. What can I do with it? Inherit the Taoist culture and protect Hua Xia's dragon soul. If you have a great opportunity, you might be able to decipher the 9 syllables mantra in the Tai Chi painting. I think it will definitely benefit you for the rest of your life. If you give me something, I can't sell it. I can't pass it on to my son or my girlfriend. The only thing I can do with it is to play a word-solving game. In the end, when I'm about to die, I still have to pass it on to someone else. Wait for a new fated person to appear. The Tai Chi painting will naturally have a new inheritance. Tianjizi said, "Am I crazy?" Fang Yin was so angry that his body was trembling. He pointed at Tianjizi's nose and scolded, "What good does this do me? I don't get anything. If you give it to me, I have to give it to someone else. What if I have feelings for it? What if I can't bear to give it to someone else? If that's the case, I might as well not have it in the first place." That's the Tai Chi painting, one of the 4 great books of Hua Xia. It's everyone's dream. Tianjizi wanted to try harder. Whoever wants it can take it. Fang Yin said angrily, "I've heard a lot of stories like this. A monk or a Taoist priest pretending to be mysterious, or a wretched-looking old man." They pulled a young man passing by and said, "Young man, I see that you have a clear bone structure, an imposing appearance, and a root of wisdom. You are a rare martial arts genius. If you concentrate on cultivation, you will become a great person in the future. Come here. I have a book called 18 Dragon Subduing Palms. Whoever believes it is an idiot." "Immortal, are you okay?" Xiaji asked carefully. She felt that the Taoist priest had suffered a great blow tonight. She didn't know if he could bear it. "The timing is not right. The timing is not right," Tianjizi said with infinite regret. "The old monk is right. Let's wait and see. Let's wait and see." Tianjizi stood up. When he turned around, he reached out and flicked his sleeves. The tea that had been frozen into ice melted again. Hot steam rolled over. Fang Yan's eyes widened. His mind trembled. He stared at the cup of tea without blinking. He stared at the rolling steam above the cup. He reached out his hand and touched it. The steam really did have heat. It was not a cheap trick on the street. "The dead tree has come back to life," Fang Yin exclaimed. "The dead tree has come back to life." He pushed the chair away and stood up, but the middle-aged Taoist priest was nowhere to be seen. He grabbed Xiaji's shoulder and asked, "Did you see him? Did you see where he went?" "No." Xiaji shook her head. She didn't understand why Fang Yin was so excited all of a sudden. She didn't see him like this, even when the boiling hot water turned to ice. "I'm looking at the tea in the cup." Fang Yin went to ask several people, including the waiters of the Tingfeng tea house. However, no one told him where Tianjizi had gone. Fang Yin stood in the Tingfeng tea house and cursed. "Do you have any patience, old man? Do you have any integrity? You said that you will pass the Tai Chi diagram to me. Hurry up and get it to me. Don't you want to take me as your disciple? How can it be so easy to take a disciple? Other people's masters are crying and shouting, hugging their disciples' thighs and begging. If one day doesn't work, they will come 100 times. If one day doesn't work, they will come 100 days. Can't you at least hold on? Well, I don't agree. Don't you know how to slap me? Fong Yin cried aggrievedly and shouted with red eyes, Godfather, where are you? Chapter 294. The smoke curled up and the wooden fish struck. Divine Jeezy angrily pushed open the door, his face as dark as the bottom of a pot. The old monk stopped striking the wooden fish and looked at his old friend. I told you to wait and see, but you just had to be so impatient. Did you get frustrated? He's a bastard, Divine Jeezy said with a bitter smile. I can't even talk to him normally. Which one of his words is serious? He's not a bastard. If he really was a bastard, why would we follow him for so long? The old monk shook his head. He's a smart person, too smart. He just used this bastard method to reject our request. Think about it. Based on our many days of observation and understanding, has he really done something that we find unsightly? You mean he knows why we came, but he just doesn't want to be on the same path as us? He doesn't want to take on this responsibility, the old monk sighed. He's still young, still in the playful stage. Who would want to carry such a burden? Passing on the culture, protecting the dragon soul. These words sound easy to say, but it's hard to do. Someone has to do it, Divine Jeezy said regretfully. There's still a few outstanding people in our generation. These youngsters, there has to be a few people who stand out. Didn't he already stand up? The monk said with a smile. He teaches and educates people, traditional Huaxia culture. Facing the challenge of the Japanese sword god Chiba, he didn't back down. Didn't he already stand up? What's missing is just a ceremony. We just need to be patient and give them more time. I think these kids won't let us down. Who knows? They might even do better than us in the future. Wu Jeezy nodded and said, Is he really the fated one? What? The divine fortune teller? Divine Jeezy is starting to doubt his own eyes? This kid is a bit strange. Just sitting with him makes me easily angry, violent. Even the Lao Tzu cleansing mantra can't suppress it. Because you care, the monk said. If you don't care, why are you so angry? In your hands, he is the most suitable inheritor of the Tai Chi painting, right? You think too highly of him, so you're more concerned about gains and losses. I almost wanted to squeeze his neck and force him to accept this task. Tian Jeezy laughed heartily. However, it's impossible for this kid to escape from my grasp. You planted another seed? I just used our Taoist secret technique. Spring comes to withered wood in front of him. He stood outside the wall, but couldn't enter. I think he would be interested in this. Amitabha, you two continue to fight. Who knows? We might end up as a family, the monk said with a smile as he struck the wooden fish again. Talk, talk, talk. Fong Yin was very frustrated. He locked himself in his room, boiled a pot of water, and poured it into a teacup. He held the teacup full of water in his hand and used this suction technique of Tai Chi to suck away the steam inside the teacup. The boiling water that had just been boiled immediately became cold water. He once again infused Qi into the teacup. The cold water slowly froze, then became a snow-white ice cube. He flicked his sleeves of the teacup. A scorching force blew through the mouth of the teacup, and the ice cube instantly melted into water. It was a simple cup of cold water. Fong Yin painfully banged his head against the wall. What's missing? What's missing? Fong Yin couldn't understand. Why did the same cup of ice melt with a flick of his sleeves and turn into hot tea? Why couldn't I do it? Why did I only get a cup of cold water when I melted the ice? This was the obstacle of consciousness. It was also called the critical point. From point A to point B was only separated by a thin wall. As long as one opened a door, they could jump from point A to point B. But where was that door? Don't underestimate this thin wall. Many times, it could trap a genius in the same place for the rest of his life. Fong Yin was walking on a road that no one had ever walked before. Or rather, someone had walked on this road, but he didn't know who, so he had no experience to learn from. He asked the old drunkard, and the old drunkard told him to explore it by himself. The road ahead was long, and he was also in the stage of exploration. Fong Yin could feel that he was the same kind of person as the old drunkard, and also the same kind of person as Yiro. However, Tianjizi obviously stood at a higher level, a higher position. He could give him guidance. Fong Yin really wanted to grab him and ask him, "What's going on with me now? Why did the state of Tai Chi become completely incomprehensible and unfamiliar to me? What's its final form? What's my goal? What should I work toward?" Zhang Chun wanted to practice Qi by force, so he had his own confusion. Fong Yin also had Fong Yan's troubles. Fong Yin could answer Zhang Chen's questions, but few people could answer Fong Yan's questions. There were too many unanswered questions in his heart, and every answer was incomparably important to him. If Tianjizi could help him solve the problem, not to mention calling him master, he could even call him Godfather. Other people could call him Godfather for a bit of money, so what was wrong with him calling him Godfather for the sake of his supreme pursuit of martial arts? Fong Yin really didn't mind. Bang, bang, bang. He knocked his head on the wall again and again. He really wanted to know, what did he do wrong? What did he lack? Bang, bang, bang. The sound of his head hitting the wall came again. Fong Yin looked at his head in confusion. It hadn't hit the wall. Someone was knocking on the door. Fong Yin walked over and opened the door. Jiang Qin was standing at the door in a nightdress with a smile. Fong Yin looked at Jiang Qin and asked, "Why aren't you sleeping?" "I can't sleep. So I came to chat with Mr. Fong," Jiang Qin said shyly. It was a little embarrassing to stand in front of his teacher in the middle of the night. "I'm already asleep," Fong Yin said. "Let's talk tomorrow. Hurry up and rest. We have to get up in a few hours to film. The next scene will be the scene of the sun rising. You have to rest well and show your most beautiful posture to the audience." Jiang Qin looked a little wronged, but he tried to smile and said, "Okay. Good night, Mr. Fong." "Good night," Fong Yin said with a smile. Jiang Qin turned around and left. He entered his room and closed the door. The door of the room next door opened. He stood at the door with a cardigan sweater over his pajamas. "She's sad," Xia said. "I'm also doing this for her own good," Fong Yin said. "One day she'll understand your painstaking efforts," Xia said. "She'll be glad to have a teacher like you." "It's late. Go to sleep," Fong Yin said. He waved at Xia Ji, then turned around and entered his room. Xia Ji stood at the door and looked at the closed door of Fong Yin's room in a daze. This man, what kind of man is he? Because the entire crew lived on this floor, he refused to let students enter his room. He was worried that some people would see it and bring trouble to Jiang Qin. The entertainment circle was a circle of right and wrong. A small joke like Jiang Qin knocking on the door of a male teacher's room in the middle of the night might seem inconspicuous now, but when she really became famous, those hidden monsters would jump out and bring her a lot of trouble and trouble. Fortunately, he was very sober. When Xia Ji saw Fong Yin for the first time, it was the scene of Fong Yin standing under the rising red sun and playing Tai Chi therefore. She stubbornly believed that it was the most beautiful scene and that such a scene must be included in her MV. Thus, the whole crew got up early the next day to shoot the sunrise. The two little girls, Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin, were in very good spirits. They took the initiative to help distribute lunch boxes to the staff of the crew. Fong Yin paid special attention to Jiang Qin and was relieved when he found that there was no abnormality. After all, she was just a child. Her mood was bad and good faster. After a night's rest, she probably couldn't remember what happened yesterday. Seeing that Xia Ji was looking at them, the two looked at each other and smiled. The shooting plan was temporarily modified. They still shot the scene of the rising red sun, but the shooting location was not in the slightly flat sky, but in the Tiger Leaping Gorge. Songgu thought that the terrain there was higher and the location was steeper. If it was filmed there, it would give people a more beautiful and three-dimensional feeling. More importantly, he was going to let Fong Yin do Tai Chi on the left side of the Tiger Leaping Gorge, and let Xia Ji take Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin to the right side of the Tiger Leaping Gorge to do Tai Chi left and right, hard and soft. They did it at the same time, with several cameras working at the same time. When the time comes, the edited MV must be beautiful. This was Song Ji-Yi's original words. Xia Ji was a workaholic. After listening to Song Ji's explanation, he also felt that this idea was very good. Thus, the group rushed to the Tiger Leaping Gorge. The Tiger Leaping Gorge was the place where Fong Yin encountered the monster killer group last time. There were two tall cliffs on the left and right side. It was said that on the night of the full moon, a fierce tiger howled at the moon and then jumped from the cliff on the left to the cliff on the right. The monster group's grave was covered with weeds, but the Tiger Leaping Gorge was still gloomy and ghostly, giving people infinite temptation and pushing people away. Sangha liked this place very much and said happily, "It's so beautiful. So beautiful. That's the feeling I want. Dark and lonely, like an old man in his twilight years." But when the first ray of sunlight shines on the Tiger Leaping Gorge, it gives people a feeling of light and hope. It must be unbelievably beautiful. Xiaji was also very satisfied with this place and was full of expectations for the later filming. Because Fong Yin was the main character in the MV, he needed to play Tai Chi on the cliff facing the east. On the other hand, Xiaji, Jiangqin, and Yuan Lin needed to go down to the mountainside and take the ropeway to the other side of the Tiger Leaping Gorge. Of course, Songgu also followed Xiaji to the other side. On Fong Yan's side, there was only an assistant director accompanying him. The assistant director asked Fong Yin to tie the rope, but Fong Yin waved his hand to indicate that there was no need. This level of danger was within his tolerance range. On the opposite side of the cliff, Xiaji, Jiangqin, and Yuan Lin were being tied up with safety ropes by the staff. At this moment, Xia suddenly cried out in alarm and fell forward. There was a slope in front of her. Her body slid down the slope for a while and fell down the cliff. At this time, Xiaji's seat belt was not yet locked. Chapter 295. In the blink of an eye, Summer, who was standing beside him, had fallen off the cliff. It happened too fast. It was so fast that it was hard for people to react. Songgu and the others didn't even have time to make a frightened movement or make any sound. They just shouted something. The summer disappeared from their eyes. Of course, this was just the reaction of a normal person. Fong Yin was not a normal person. When he heard Summer's exclamation, he already felt that the situation was not good. When he saw Summer's head sliding down the slope, he already had a premonition of what was going to happen. Therefore, when Summer fell off the cliff, Fong Yin had already finished 2 consecutive run-up runs. He tiptoed on the edge of the cliff, and his body quickly fell to the cliff, rushing towards Summer, who was on the opposite side of the cliff. Whoosh! The wind was whistling in Summer's ears. She felt the cold wind of the canyon cutting her face. She felt her body was cold and stiff. Her mind was blank. She could only hear her own breathing and heartbeat. "I'm going to die." She was really unwilling. Summer's heart was full of regret and regret. She was so young. She still had a lot of things to experience. She hadn't been in love. She hadn't fulfilled her music dream. She still had a lot of things to eat and a lot of places to go. Strange, it wasn't her own heartbeat. Her heartbeat wasn't so hard, and her chest wasn't so wide. Summer opened her eyes and looked at Fong Yan's eyes. 1 second, or maybe even shorter. Fong Yin had already looked away, but she felt an unprecedented sense of security. This sense of security made her body no longer cold. The flesh on her face no longer hurt, and her mind returned to normal. Damn. Summer thought angrily in her heart. She was jumping off the cliff like Fong Yin. Why could she still feel safe? What was safe? Would it be safer to die together? Summer and Fong Yin had known each other for a while, but it was the first time she was so close to him. She looked at his side profile. It wasn't the kind of handsome European with a knife and axe. The curve was very soft. His eyes were very bright. They were falling fast, and his eyes were looking around like an eagle. He was about to die, so what was there to worry about? Xia suddenly felt her side collide with the edge of the cliff. No. Fong Yin hugged her and dove to the side. Fong Yin grabbed onto a long horizontal branch at the edge of the cliff. Because they were falling too hard, the tree branch creaked under their weight, and their legs kept swaying in the air. From rolling down the cliff to stopping, The summer felt as long as a century. However, to Fong Yin, it was merely a breath's time. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. Fong Yin jumped off the cliff to intercept Xia Kiki. After gliding in the air for a few tenths of a second, Fong Yin hooked his hand and grabbed the tree trunk. "Are you okay?" Fong Yin finally had the chance to ask this question. "I'm fine." Fong Yin, she really couldn't understand why Fong Yin would jump off the cliff to save her. Didn't he say that she wasn't his type and that they wouldn't have a future together? Was there need to invest so much? Fong Yin didn't answer her question. He looked up at the sky and shouted, "Throw the rope down. Quick, put the rope down, put the rope down." Song Gu and the security assistants on the top of the mountain finally reacted. They put down the rope that was originally used as a safety rope and held the other end in their hands. One person, two people, three people, a dozen people. They lined up in a column, each holding a section of the rope, ready to pull Fong Yin and Xia Ji up. Fong Yin told Xia Chun to hug him tightly. For safety's sake, he used his own legs to clamp Xia Chun's legs tightly together. This posture was really too embarrassing and too ambiguous. Fortunately, Fong Yin and Xia Chun were both simple-minded beauty. No one would think so much, and no one would admit that they did. In this way, Fong Yin's two hands were completely free. He hugged the tree trunk with one hand and took the rope with the other hand and pulled hard. The group of people on the mountain moved toward the edge of the cliff. The rope was very soft, and there were many factors that could not be fixed. Tie the other end of the rope to a big tree. Tie it tightly, Fong Yin shouted. This time it was not a joke. If the rope accidentally fell when he grabbed the rope and climbed up, it would be very difficult for him to grab the life-saving object that could stop them from falling. Or if someone on the top of the mountain was pulled down the cliff, Fong Yin would be powerless to help save them at that time. With casualties, this MV shooting would become an accident. The police and the media would get involved. The aftermath will be very troublesome, and the impact will be very bad. This was the first time Fong Yin had experienced MV. He did not want to encounter such a bad thing at the beginning of his life. Quickly tie the rope to the tree. Song Gu became a headless fly and anxiously ordered. If something happened to Xia Chun, the Xia family might vent their anger on him. After all, he was the one who requested to come to Tiger Leaping Gorge to shoot the MV, and he was the one who came up with the idea. This kind of responsibility was not something he could bear. Xia Chen's security assistant was still rational and said, "Director Song, if we tie the rope to the tree, we can't drag it. How can they come up?" Song Gu thought about it and also felt that something was wrong. Shouldn't Fong Yin tie the other end of the rope to him and Xia Chun, and the people on the top of the mountain should try their best to drag them up? They tied the rope to the tree trunk, and the tree would not help to drag them. Could it be that the two of them tied the rope and climbed up by themselves? How could they climb up? Is it tied? Fong Yin pulled the rope again and shouted, "Mr. Fong, should we drag you up, tie the rope to the tree? You don't have to worry about anything else." Fong Yin shouted. Creak, creak. The trunk of the small tree that Fong Yin was hugging was bent to the extreme. This small tree, which was as thick as the mouth of a bowl, was not enough to support the strength of two people. Soil began to roll down from its roots. Fong Yin, the tree is going to break, Xia Chan said with a pale face. "It's okay. We have enough time," Fong Yin said. As he spoke, he had already grabbed the rope and did not let go. Even if the small tree broke immediately, they would not fall off the cliff. "It's tied," Song Gu shouted from the top of the mountain. Fong Yin was worried and pulled hard. The rope was straight and hard, and the other end was tied very firmly. As long as the tree was strong enough, there should be no problem with the rope. "All of you, get out of the way," Fong Yin shouted. Song Gu looked around and asked, "You said to get out of the way. Where should we go?" No one answered, because everyone saw a horrifying and thrilling scene. They saw Fong Yin hugging Xia Chun with one hand and holding the rope with the other. After wrapping the rope around his wrists a few times, he swung his body towards the cliff on the right. They were like two gourds on a vine, crashing into the stone wall on the other side. Both of his feet stepped on the cliff, and his body once again rushed towards the cliff on the left. Both of his feet stepped on the cliff on the left, and his body once again swung to the right. Back and forth, Fong Yin was like a naughty monkey playing on the two blades cliff. After borrowing strength several times, his body suddenly jumped high and jumped on top of Song Ji's head with Xia Chun in his arms. The hero saving the beauty had to be cool. This was the second cool climbing posture that Fong Yin could think of. When Song Gu was still hesitating about where to hide, the security assistant pushed him away, which avoided the tragic fate of being kicked to the bottom of the cliff by Fong Yin and Xia Chun. In that case, Song Gu would only have a dead end. Because the security assistant knew that Fong Yin would not play Eagle Fall for Song Gu. The security assistant really knew about safety. Xia Chun lay in Fong Yin's arms and gasped. Until now, she did not dare to open her eyes. It was too exciting. It was really too exciting. She had made many movies and TV series, climbed mountains, jumped over rivers, and even played high-altitude leaps on the skyscrapers of Dubai. However, that was when there was a steel wire hanging from it. Moreover, most of the actions in the film and TV series were completed by post-production. The scene that you think is cool and exciting may just be completed in the recording studio. However, Fong Yin made such an action with one hand grabbing the rope. This is simply challenging human cognition. Song Gu sat on the ground and looked at Fong Yin with her mouth wide open. She was speechless for a long time. He didn't know if he was stimulated or scared. Maybe it was both. The three security assistants of the crew stared at Fong Yin. A bearded man gave a thumbs up to Fong Yin. The bearded man was called Zhou Deqiang, the head bodyguard of Xia Chun. Originally, he did not like Fong Yin very much. He thought that he was just a pretty boy who knew a few tricks. Because he was good-looking and glib, he was able to get Miss Xia Chen's trust. This feeling was as complicated and contradictory as the princess guarded by the warrior was taken away by the prince, and the daughter raised by the father was about to be cheated away by the bastard son-in-law. However, with Fong Yin's quick reaction after Xia Chun fell off the cliff and his ability to climb at high altitude, his ability could kill them dozens of times. He came over and wanted to pat Fong Yin's shoulder, but he felt that this action was a bit disrespectful to an expert. So he took his hand back. He looked at Fong Yin and said, "Master Fong, thank you. Our brother's negligence caused Miss Xia Chun to be in danger. If it weren't for you, the consequences would be unimaginable." The other two security assistants also came over to thank Fong Yin. They were smiling on their faces, but they were crying in their hearts. With this guy here, they were afraid that they would lose their jobs, right? Chapter 296. Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin were frightened. They stood together with Summer and were about to buckle the rope around their waists when Summer exclaimed and disappeared. The two little girls were deeply loved by Summer. When they were in Yinjing, they received a lot of help from Summer. Summer was usually busy with work, but she often asked her assistant to send them some daily necessities. As long as she had free time, she would drive to school to pick them up, and the three of them would go out to eat and go shopping together. Their relationship was not like that of master and apprentice, but more like that of sisters. Summer fell off the cliff. Their little faces were pale with fear, and their legs were weak. They couldn't even speak. Fortunately, Fong Yin chased after them and saved Summer. Only then did they recover some spirit and strength. Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin rushed over and cried while hugging Summer. Life and death separated by a thin line. If it weren't for Fong Yin, they could only see Summer's corpse now. Maybe they wouldn't see it because they couldn't go down the mountain in such a short time. Because Summer was still lying in Fong Yin's arms, the two of them also hugged Fong Yin. From a distance, it looked like the four of them were hugging their heads and crying together. Summer finally came to her senses. She got up from Fong Yin's arms, turned around and hugged Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin in her arms. She comforted them and said, "Why are you crying? I'm fine, aren't I?" "Sister, you almost..." Yuan Lin wiped her tears, and her little face was red from crying. "I thought I wouldn't see you." "Yes, As soon as we looked up, we couldn't see you. Then we saw them running to the edge of the cliff. Yuan Lin and I didn't dare to go over. We were so scared. Jiang Qin's eyes were also red. With your omnipotent Mr. Fong here, sister will be fine, Summer said with a smile. She adjusted her mentality very quickly. Look, aren't I standing right in front of you? Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin looked at Fong Yin together. When they were about to thank Fong Yin, they found that Fong Yin was chatting with the security assistant. Fong Yin looked at the bearded Zhou Deqiang and asked, Brother Zhou is a soldier? Zhou Deqiang and his two brothers immediately became vigilant. They stared at Fong Yin and said, Master Fong, why do you ask? He has been retired for at least 10 years, right? Fong Yin said with a smile. Although you've been away from the army for many years, your every movement still bears the mark of a soldier. For example, the way you stand, the tone of your voice, and some of the methods you use when you're on guard. You don't have to be nervous. I knew you were soldiers the moment I saw you. Master Fong has a good eye. Zhou Deqiang chuckled. Protect Miss Summerwell. She's a good person and deserves your attention. Fong Yin said. Zhou Deqiang looked at Fong Yin and said, Master Fong, have you ever considered following Miss Xia? Miss Xia is a good person and treats you differently. If you guard her, you'll have a better development in the future. Zhou Deqiang was also a smart person. He knew that the pavilion closest to the water enjoys the moonlight first. If Fong Yin was willing to be Xia's bodyguard, perhaps the two of them would become an enviable couple. Miss Xia had a good family background, good looks, and most importantly, she was kind-hearted, knowledgeable, and introverted. She was a good match for countless men. If Fong Yin could really get together with Xia, it would be 100 times better than being a teacher in a middle school. Xia's husband was a figure who could make headlines in the media from time to time. Zhou Deqiang thanked Fong Yin for his help in times of crisis and also thanked him for comforting his brother. So this sentence was more straightforward. I just want to be a quiet teacher. Fong Yin refused with a smile. Reading, writing, and being with students. This is the best life I can imagine. Zhou Deqiang and his two friends immediately blushed. They felt that their hearts were too vulgar and dirty, and they were not worthy to talk and chat with Fong Yin. It was blasphemy to look at them. After the accident, everyone's mood was a little unstable. Under the security guard, the group of people retreated to the side of the road to drink water and rest. Sangha was completely convinced by Fong Yin this time. No, it had risen to the level of worship. He now recalled how stupid it was to say that this guy had no talent and could not be used. He repeatedly expressed his gratitude to Fong Yin and hoped that they could contact each other more in the future. Fong Yin understood Song Ji's mentality and did not embarrass him anymore. Since there was no replacement for Xia, he would not say anything more. Sangha squatted in front of Xia and said with a face full of fear, Xia, it's all my fault. I really didn't expect such a thing to happen. If I didn't choose such a dangerous place to shoot, you wouldn't have encountered such danger. Why don't we change places to shoot the MV? Many people in the entertainment industry were superstitious. They believed in all kinds of gods. Every time they started filming, they would hold a starting ceremony and pray to the gods to bless them with smooth sailing and smooth shooting. Encountering an extremely dangerous thing during filming like today, almost causing casualties, made them feel that this was not an auspicious place. Changing the venue was also a matter of course. I almost fell off the cliff because I accidentally stepped on a snake. It has nothing to do with the venue you chose. Xia said, if you think this venue is not good enough, we can change to a better one. However, if it's just because of this sudden accident, I think it's still better to shoot here. Fong Yin, what do you think? Next time, tie the safety rope. Fong Yin said, if I just happened to be dozing off or went to the toilet, wouldn't I not be able to chase after you to save you? Even if the others jumped down, they wouldn't be able to save you. Maybe they would fall even faster with you. A group of people laughed, and the oppressive atmosphere finally eased a little. Xia nodded and said, Fong Yin is right. We still choose to shoot in Tiger Leaping Gorge, and we still follow the original shooting plan. However, We must do a good job with safety measures. Not only me, but also my dear in Shaolin. Every staff member must do a good job with safety measures. People who are not related to the filming should not go there. Just stand in a safe area and do the logistics work. Miss, this time we'll do a good job with safety. Zhou Deqiang promised. Yes. Don't feel pressured. Xia Xia comforted. When everyone went to work, Xia Xia sat next to Fang Yin. Xia Xia looked at Fang Yin and said, "You haven't answered my question yet." "What question?" Fang Yin asked. "Why did you jump down?" Xia Xia's bright and intelligent eyes stared at every frame of Fang Yin's facial expression and asked aloud. "Because I can," Fang Yin said. Xia Xia angrily kicked Fang Yin and said with a wry smile, "What kind of answer is that? Do you think you're Hua Xiao mobile?" "I didn't think that much at the time." Fang Yin looked at Xia Xia and said, "If I didn't have this skill, I might have made the same choice as them. I would have shouted for help, Summer fell down, and then I would have waited for you to completely fall down, followed everyone to the Grand Canyon, find you, waited for the police to come, waited for your memorial service, and maybe even shed some tears. However, with this skill, I know I can save you. I know how I should save you, and I have to save you. That's why I jumped. Is that the reason?" Xia Xia asked. There was some regret, a little sadness, but also a sense of relief and joy. After surviving a disaster, there will be good fortune. Xia Xia thought, it must be like this, right? That's the reason. Fang Yin said, "It's not as complicated as you think. If Song Ge fell down, would you save him like this?" Xia Xia didn't know why he would ask such a boring question. Isn't this kind of unreasonable question that a 17 or 18-year-old girl would ask when she's acting coquettishly with her boyfriend? It's impossible to happen or hasn't happened yet, and you have to find a definite answer. Isn't this making things difficult for people? Could it be that she had suddenly contracted the princess syndrome? "Save," Fang Yin said. "You're not a broad-minded man. Because he's your compatriot?" Xia Xia broke the casserole and asked to the end, "I'm not a broad-minded man, but I'm not a narrow-minded man either. Everyone has a family, parents, and children. If something happens to them, the ones who will be hurt the most will be the ones who love them the most. If I can save a family from a tragedy, I'm willing to do whatever I can to save them. This is the meaning of my martial arts. This is the meaning of the existence of Kung Fu," Fang Yin said with a dignified expression and a sincere voice. "I just can't stand to see others cry. You guys are so great," Xia Xia said. She was very glad that there was such a group of Hua Xiao martial artists, which gave them a sense of security. Americans have Spider-Man and Batman. Can't Hua Xiao have her own superhero? Besides, only after you save them can you see how grateful others are to you, Fang Yin said. At that time, your heart will be like drinking a bucket of ice water on a hot day. You will feel that your whole life has been sublimated. My heart is very happy. Fang Yin looked down at the pool of blood on his pants and was shocked. He said, "Why am I bleeding? It doesn't make sense." He didn't encounter any danger at all. His actions to save people were very smooth, and the process was very smooth. How'd he get hurt? What's more, he was safe and didn't feel any pain. Xia Xia's face suddenly turned red. She fiercely glared at Fang Yin and said, "It's my blood. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.